Chapter 2336. The ferret tribe was wiped out. 3. Ugh. Could this be a family? Just as Lung Ruoxue was thinking of this, she felt the ferret in her hand struggling with an agitated expression. It was even shouting, "My dear, what are you doing back here? These humans are all demons. They won't let us go. Run." These words made Lung Ruoxue's forehead fill with black lines. Did she overdo it? She seemed to have only scared the ferret a little, but it actually thought she was a demon. However, so be it if he was a demon. She wanted to see how the other ferret would react. "My dear, I'm not leaving. If we're going to die, we'll die together. Woo, without you, how are we going to live?" The female ferret seemed to have made a huge decision, as if she was ready to die. The male ferret, on the other hand, was extremely anxious after hearing his wife's words. "You fool. You fool. Our child was just born not long ago. Can you bear to see it die with us at such a young age?" The male ferret roared angrily. "I don't care. I don't care. In my heart, you are the most important." The female ferret was obviously a beastie who would forget her child when she saw a woman. Therefore, she made a clear choice. When the male ferret heard this, he was extremely touched. However, before he could continue to persuade her, the crying female ferret threw herself into his arms and wailed, "Woo, my dear, how can I live without you?" Hearing such affectionate words, the male ferret hugged his wife tightly, and the two ferrets cried bitterly. At this moment, the two ferrets that were hugging each other and crying had not realized that Lung Ruoxue had already let go of the male ferret. The two of them were immersed in their own sorrow, and the ferret cub on the female ferret's back had been completely ignored by the couple. The little ferret was staring at its parents, Lung Ruoxue, and the rest with its big blue eyes that were filled with confusion and helplessness. Seeing how adorable the ferret cub was, Lung Ruoxue could not help but hug it in her arms. She said lovingly, "Poor little guy, it seems like your parents only want love and don't want you anymore." Even though the little ferret cub didn't quite understand Lung Ruoxue's words, it could feel Lung Ruoxue's kindness. Hence, it wasn't as repulsed and afraid of Lung Ruoxue as its parents. On the contrary, it was very close to Lung Ruoxue. After the initial fear, the little fellow happily started playing with Lung Ruoxue. The ferret couple, who had just realized what was going on, also felt that something was amiss after crying. It was only then that they realized that their child had fallen into Lung Ruoxue's hands. "Please return the child to me." The female ferret pleaded with tears in her eyes. "Return it to you? Do you want a husband or a child?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. Aye. The female ferret was anxious, but she stammered and could not say a complete sentence. In fact, if she wanted to say it, she would. However, it was afraid that its greed would anger these humans, so it didn't dare to voice its thoughts. "I want children. I'll trade for my child's safety." The male ferret saw his wife hesitating and immediately said, "But I like this little guy more. What should I do?" Lung Ruoxue pretended to be in a difficult position. When the ferret couple heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they looked at each other and felt the determination in their beloved wife's eyes. Then the male ferret said, "Then please arrest all three of us. Please don't separate us. Even if we die, we will die together. If you want to sell us, please sell us to the same person." This was the only request of the male ferret. It knew that if it didn't leave, his beloved wife would never leave. Since that was the case, then let the three of them be together forever. "That's a good idea." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head in agreement to the male ferret's request. When the male ferret saw this, he immediately pulled his wife and obediently stayed by Lung Ruoxue's feet. At this moment, he had no intention of running away. After all, his child was in the hands of the other party. However, how could that heartless child have such a good time playing with Lung Ruoxue? The male ferret muttered to himself. After playing with the young ferret for a while, Lung Ruoxue smiled at the male ferret and said, "Your child is much cuter than you and your wife. At least he wasn't afraid of her." These words caused the male ferret to close its eyes slightly. It did not give much of a reaction to Lung Ruoxue, but it was quite proud of its own child. Lung Ruoxue could see the smugness in the male ferret's heart. She raised her eyebrows and ordered, "Go and call out all of your ferret tribesmen. What do you want to do?" Hearing this, The male ferret immediately became alert again, and the anger in its heart grew. Damn humans! Wasn't capturing their family of 3 enough? He actually wanted to target the other members of their ferret clan. He had really gone too far. Thanks, what do you think? Lung Ruoxua laughed as she retorted. She suddenly realized that it was rather interesting to see this ferret's fur standing on end. Human! Please show mercy and let my people go. The furious ferret suddenly retracted its sharp claws and changed to a sorrowful tactic. What if I refuse? Little ferret, do you want me to do it myself? Lung Ruoxua said with a straight face on purpose. You'll do it yourself? Then wouldn't our ferret clan suffer heavy losses? The male ferret thought to himself angrily, then finally compromised. I can let my tribesmen come out to see you, but can you promise not to hurt them? The male ferret started to talk about the conditions. After a brief interaction with Lung Ruoxua, it realized that it was reasonable to talk to this human. Hence, it wanted to fight for the benefits of its own tribe. After all, it felt that it was the one who had harmed them. If they're tactful and willing to take the initiative to leave with me, of course I won't hurt them. Lung Ruoxua said honestly. The male ferret wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It knew that this human had ill intentions towards them, and wanted to sell them off. Of course, selling them off was still a good thing, but they were afraid that this human would still have ideas about their fur. At that time, they might even lose their lives. In its heart, Lung Ruoxua's promise that she wouldn't harm her own clansmen had been treated as a promise that she wouldn't harm her own clansmen for now. But it was hard to say what would happen in the future. The male ferret was in a dilemma. Was he going to become a sinner of the ferret clan? If they followed this human, it wouldn't be long before the ferret clan was completely wiped out in the divine realm. The male ferret's mind was filled with pain. The more it thought about it, the sadder it became. The expression on its face was almost impossible to hide, and Lung Ruoxua was baffled. In the end, it was Tsong who was kind enough to tell Lung Ruoxua what the ferret was thinking. When Lung Ruoxua heard it, she was a little confused. How did she not know that Beastie's imagination was so rich? However, now wasn't the time for this ferret to let its thoughts run wild. At this thought, Lung Ruoxua said coldly, "Are you going or not? If you don't want to go, I'll do it myself. I'll go." The male ferret's face was filled with grief and indignation. Then it went back into its snow cave. The ferret's cave was like a tunnel. It was basically connected. Therefore, the male ferret could find all of its tribesmen as long as he went down from his home. An hour later, Lung Ruoxua saw the snow pile in front of her being split open one by one. From within, snow-white ferrets crawled out. When all the ferrets had arrived, Lung Ruoxua did a rough count and realized that there were very few of them. There were only about 100 of them. At this moment, the ferrets' faces were filled with fear. Looking at their pitiful little appearances, Lung Ruoxua deeply felt that she was too evil. How could she scare these cute little beasts like this? However, she was also doing this for the good of these little guys. If he followed the white tiger race, he would definitely have no future. He might as well follow her. With this thought, Lung Ruoxua immediately threw the little guilt in her heart out of the window. Then, like a wolf grandmother, she smiled at the ferrets and said, "Are the ferrets all here? Everyone's here." The leader of the Snow Ferret clan said with a long face after hearing Lung Ruoxua's words. "Very good, from now on, you will be my beasts." Lung Ruoxua was straightforward. However, her words had misled the ferrets, causing them to think that they were going to become the humans' captives. So the moment Lung Ruoxua finished speaking, the ferrets burst into tears. The outcome of being weak. They could only be bullied by humans. This was the only thought in the ferret's mind at this moment. However, what made them even more indignant was that their backer did not dare to stand up for their tribe. This fact made them extremely disappointed, and their cries naturally became louder. This scene made Lung Ruoxua dumbfounded for a moment. Did she say anything? Why are these little guys crying so sadly? Could it be that it was difficult to leave one's homeland? Lung Ruoxua speculated. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this was possible. However, the place she could provide for these little fellows was definitely several times better and safer than the place they were currently living in. With this thought in mind, Lung Ruoxue shifted all the ferrets in front of her into her bracelet. What about the ferrets? Looking at the ferret that had suddenly disappeared, Jiang Ning asked with a puzzled expression. I've kept it, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Jiang Ning was speechless. This little girl was truly ruthless. She had actually wiped out the entire ferret tribe. He wondered how the White Tiger tribe would react when they found out about this. He was really looking forward to it. Chapter 2337. New Idea. 1. Looking at Jiang Ning's reaction, Lung Ruoxue suddenly had a new idea. She felt that she could capture all the beasts on the Longevity Mountain, except for the White Tiger race. This way, she could also remove some of the White Tiger race's wings. She just didn't know how the White Tiger race would react if they knew her thoughts. However, the more Lung Ruoxue thought about it, the more she felt that her idea was good. Following that, Lung Ruoxue let out a faint smile and whispered to the other 3 humans and 1 beast, I've decided. What? When Jiang Ning heard these words, he waited for Lung Ruoxue to continue with a face full of questions. However, Lung Ruoxue deliberately kept him in suspense, causing Jiang Ning to be anxious. It was as if a cat had grown claws in his heart and was scratching at it nonstop. However, the detestable Lung Ruoxue refused to say anything. Shui, can you not keep us in suspense? How can you only say half of your words? Are you trying to make me anxious? Jiang Ning said, a little upset. What I want to say is that I've decided to capture all the beasts here in one fell swoop. Of course, that's with the exception of the White Tiger race. Lung Ruoxue finally revealed her plan when she saw how anxious Jiang Ning was. Oh, why did she like to tease people more and more? However, Jiang Ning was still not calm enough. The demon and Uncle Long didn't even ask much. However, it was a good thing that Jiang Ning did not know what Lung Ruoxue was thinking. If he knew that Lung Ruoxue was comparing him to the evildoer and Uncle Long, he would definitely be depressed. Who asked him to know Shui without any parents? That's a good idea. The demon agreed. And Uncle Long also nodded. However, after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Jiang Ning couldn't help but ask, this idea is too crazy. Are you trying to drive the White Tiger race mad? Why would I? I'm helping the White Tiger race clear the obstacles. Without the other beast races, the White Tiger race can monopolize the Longevity Mountain. Therefore, they have to be grateful to me. Otherwise, they'll be considered as ungrateful. Lung Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. The demon and Uncle Long didn't have any reaction to his words, but cold sweat was dripping down Jiang Ning's back. Oh my god! He didn't hear wrong, did he? By doing this, Shui could also be considered to have done a favor for the White Tiger race? And she wanted him to be grateful to her? Was that even possible? The White Tiger race was one of the 4 great king divine beast races. They had always been proud and had a high status. You've raided their subordinate beast race, and you still want them to thank you? If the White Tiger race was really grateful to Lung Ruoxue because of this, Jiang Ning felt that he would look down on them. They were too cowardly, weren't they? Even though Jiang Ning's heart was already in turmoil, Lung Ruoxue did not give him the chance to let his thoughts run wild. She waved her hand and said, let's continue. The next Snow Rat clan. The little silver rats by her side were very good at gathering information. So Lung Ruoxue reckoned that the snow rats wouldn't be any worse off. Thus, Lung Ruoxue was rather looking forward to seeing those little fellows. Just like that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest took a long detour, and went to the Snow Rat clan first. Thanks at the same time, the Ferret clan that had been moved into Lung Ruoxue's bracelet were initially alarmed when they saw that they had been moved to a new place. However, they soon realized that their new home was many times better than their original home. Furthermore, the temperature here was more suitable for the Ferret clan to live in. They just did not know where they were. All the ferrets racked their brains, but they still could not figure out where they were. Suddenly, a chubby baby appeared in front of them, and the ferret's eyes widened. Welcome to your new home. The chubby child, Qingju, said with a smile. Our new home? This place? When the Snow Ferret tribe leader heard this, he asked in disbelief. Of course. You guys have already been absorbed by my sister. From now on, the White Tiger race has nothing to do with you guys anymore. So, you guys just have to listen to my sister, do you understand? Qingju reminded. However, when the ferrets heard what he said, they were even more confused. Who's your sister? The chief of the snow ferret tribe asked carefully. He could already tell that this little kid was not to be trifled with. It's Lung Ruoxue, the one who sent you all here. Qingju explained. Arg, isn't it going to sell us? The snow ferret tribe leader said in shock. Sell you? How much can you sell your meatless little beasts for? Big Sister has brought you guys in here for your own good. Otherwise, when Big Sister deals with the white tiger race in the future, you guys will definitely become cannon fodder. Big Sister has always had a kind heart towards the beasts, so naturally, I can't bear to see you guys being used by the white tiger race. That's why I'm thinking of helping you guys. Qingju told the truth, but he could not guarantee that the ferrets would not believe him. Green Vessel's words caused the ferrets to turn pale with fright. Although they already knew that they wouldn't be sold from the mouth of this little doll in front of them, what caused them to be terrified was that this human woman actually wanted to go against the white tiger race. Wasn't this the rhythm of seeking death? Even though the ferrets were afraid of Lung Ruoxue, they didn't believe that she would dare to cause trouble for the white tiger race. After all, in their hearts, the white tiger race was extremely powerful. Otherwise, the white tiger race wouldn't be known as one of the 4 great king divine beasts of the firmament. At this moment, they had long forgotten that the white tiger race didn't care about the life and death of their own race. They were completely shocked by Qingju's words. Furthermore, they were naive and would never have thought that the white tiger race didn't care about them and didn't want to provoke Lung Ruoxue, because they were worried about her. Looking at the group of dumbfounded ferrets, Qingju patted the ferret tribe leader's shoulder and said, You will live here from now on. When Big Sister's matters are settled, I'll let you all return to the Longevity Mountain. At that time, I'm afraid you won't be willing to leave. Qingju laughed to himself. After he finished speaking, he strode away with his chubby legs. After Green Vessel left, the ferrets were still a little dazed. It took them a while to get used to their new home, before they got used to it and settled down here with no qualms. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue had also received Qingju's report. She knew that the little ferrets had settled down. Then they quickened their pace and walked towards the Snow Rat clan. The Snow Rat clan had always been responsible for the intelligence work of the Longevity Mountain. They were also the first to inform the White Tiger clan of the arrival of Lung Ruoxue and the others. It was only after that the White Tiger clan's spies took over their work and continued to monitor Lung Ruoxue and the others' every move. As for the snow rats, they hid in their own caves. However, compared to the ferret's cave, the snow rat's cave was more accessible. Hence, Lung Ruoxue's thoughts could not be hidden from them. However, it was also because of Lung Ruoxue's thoughts and the fact that the ferret clan had been wiped out that they were even more anxious. The Snow Rat King had already reported to the White Tiger race about Lung Ruoxue's plan to wipe out the entire snow rat race. However, they had yet to receive any response from the White Tiger race. As Lung Ruoxue and the rest got closer and closer, the snow rats were in a complete mess. Chapter 2338. A new idea, too. King, what should we do? Quickly think of a way. That human is about to arrive. The snow rats hiding in the cave wailed, and the Snow Rat King was having a headache. Calm down. All of you calm down. Aren't they just a few humans? What was there to be afraid of? We have the White Tiger race's support. Those humans won't dare to do anything to us. The Snow Rat King tried to comfort them, but the other snow rats did not agree or disagree with what the king said. King, don't lie to us. The White Tiger race didn't react at all to the arrival of these humans. Don't forget what happened to the ferret race. If the White Tiger race wanted to stand up for the ferret race, they would have done so long ago. There wouldn't be no movement now. An old snow rat didn't want to see its king lie to its clansmen like this, so it exposed its king's words without giving it any face. That's right. The White Tiger race wouldn't care about our lives. They will never fight against the humans outside for us. Some of the snow rats supported the elder snow rat's words. Furthermore, as the Snow Rat clan that was responsible for the intelligence work of the Longevity Mountain, they naturally knew Lung Ruoxue better than the other magical beasts. Therefore, they were very clear about the strength of Lung Ruoxue and the others. They also understood the White Tiger King's concerns about not being willing to make an enemy out of them. Of course, those snow rats who had such thoughts would naturally have a high status in the Snow Rat clan. Thus, they would not be deceived by the lies of their king. When the Snow Rat King heard such opposition, it was so angry that it trembled. After a long time, the Snow Rat King roared. "Then what do you guys think we should do?" "King, let's run." A little snow mouse said timidly. "Can you run? Where could he have run to?" The old snow rat said with a disapproving look. "As many of our clansmen as we can run. It's better than all of us becoming that humans' prisoners." The more the little snow mouse spoke, the softer its voice became. In the end, it even lowered its head, not daring to look at its clansmen. Our Snow Rat clan has always relied on the strength of a team to occupy a place in the Longevity Mountain, and even to be valued by the White Tiger race. If only a few of us managed to escape, it would seem that we have preserved the bloodline of the Snow Rat clan, but we would also lose our value to the White Tiger race. Therefore, it doesn't matter to us whether we run or not, unless the White Tiger race reaches out a helping hand to us. Otherwise, we might as well surrender. At least, if our clan is together, it would still be of great use. I'm sure that human can't bear to kill us," the old snow rat said with a shrewd expression. In this regard, it was more far-sighted than the other snow rats. It also knew the advantages of the Snow Rat clan. Therefore, in the situation where the White Tiger clan did not come to rescue them, the only thing they could rely on was their own advantages. This way, they could give the Snow Rat clan a chance to survive. As for the White Tiger race's reinforcements, the old snow rat was well aware that they would not come. Otherwise, the White Tiger race wouldn't have remained silent for such a long time. Although the old snow rat was extremely disappointed by this result, he had already accepted the fact that things had come to this. Staying alive was the most important thing. It didn't matter who they relied on, or who their master was. The old snow rat's words made all the snow rats, including the Snow Rat King, lower their heads in deep thought. Finally, after thinking for a long time, the Snow Rat King raised its head with a determined look and said, "Let's surrender." After saying that, the Snow Rat King lowered its head dejectedly. It had let down the Snow Rat clan. Although the Snow Rat clan was not very powerful among the Divine Realm's magical beasts, they had never had a human master. Now this glorious tradition was going to be destroyed in its hands. Therefore it was quite depressed and sad. The old snow rat could tell that the Snow Rat King was in a bad mood. He didn't know what to say except to pat its shoulder to comfort it. When Lung Ruoxue and the others arrived at the territory of the Snow Rat clan, they saw the entire clan moving out, as if they were welcoming them. Thanks Jiangning was extremely surprised by this scene. What was going on? Jiangning's face was filled with question marks. The frowning snow rats didn't look like they were going to fight them. However, what the Snow Rat King said next made Jiangning's jaw drop. "Human, we snow rats surrender." The Snow Rat King took a deep breath, and then said on behalf of the other snow rats, "Fuck." When Jiangning heard this, he wanted to curse. What kind of character did that girl have? How could such a thing happen? Although the Snow Rat clan was not very powerful, they were very good at gathering information. Therefore, at this moment, Jiangning was really envious of Lung Ruoxue's luck. Of course, this was under the condition that he had never seen Lung Ruoxue's silver rats. Otherwise, he would be so depressed that he would bang his head against a wall. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she wasn't too surprised. It was as if she had already expected this. Following that, she nodded and said, "This is a wise choice." Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Jiangning had the urge to vomit blood. You bastard! What did he mean by acting innocent after getting benefits? This was it. Looking at the faint smile on Lung Ruoxue's face, Jiangning truly felt that she was an eyesore. This was clearly a provocation. However, even though he was a little upset, he also knew that he couldn't be envious of someone's character. This was all a matter of personal luck. It was inborn. With a tinge of envy, jealousy, and hatred, Jiangning looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of admiration. In the end, Lung Ruoxue felt a little creeped out. She rolled her eyes at him, and ordered the Snow Rat King to recognize its master. After that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest quickly left the territory of the Snow Rat clan. The other snow rats were placed into the bangle by Lung Ruoxue and handed over to Green Vessel to settle down. The Snow Rat King was left outside to lead the way. It was only now that Lung Ruoxue began to carefully observe the Snow Rat King's appearance. The Snow Rat King before her was only half the size of her palm. It was chubby and had a snow-white body. It looked like a small snowball, and was rather adorable. With its big, black, watery eyes, it looked at her pitifully. Lung Ruoxue was immediately overwhelmed by its cuteness. Lung Ruoxue poked the Snow Rat King's chubby little body and placed it on her shoulder. She then instructed, "Snow Rat King, take us to the Snow Wolf clan." Lung Ruoxue persevered in carrying out her goal and annihilated all the beasts under the White Tiger race. When the Snow Rat King heard Lung Ruoxue's words, it nodded its head vigorously. In its heart, it was gloating over Lung Ruoxue's misfortune. It seemed like another beast race would be wiped out in one fell swoop on the Longevity Mountain. In an instant, the Snow Rat King's heart was balanced. It felt that having a human master was actually quite good. Moreover, after recognizing a master, it realized that its master had many beasts. As such, the Snow Rat clan that had been forced to surrender did not feel as unwilling anymore. Instead, they accepted Lung Ruoxue as their master with ease. With the Snow Rat King leading the way, Lung Ruoxue and her group soon arrived at the Snow Wolf clan. When they arrived at the Snow Wolf clan, Lung Ruoxue did not waste any time and immediately released the Silver Wolf King to deal with the king of the Snow Wolf clan. Chapter 2339, New Idea 3. The Silver Wolf King stepped out and slapped the Snow Wolf King with its paw. The Snow Wolf King was beaten until it was dizzy. In the end, under the violent abuse of the Silver Wolf King, the Snow Wolf King recognized its master. The Snow Wolf King was not only aggrieved, but he felt even more aggrieved. When he was being beaten up, he had said that he would surrender. However, that detestable Silver Wolf King seemed to have not heard anything and continued to beat him up. In the end, the Silver Wolf King only let it go when it was tired from the beating. Its beautiful white fur was also stained with blood, and it was covered in wounds. However, it could not defeat the Silver Wolf King. Therefore, it could only swallow its anger in silence. When the other snow wolves saw this, they were so scared that they hid away. When the Snow Wolf tribe recognized their master, the snow wolves looked at the Silver Wolf King with fear in their eyes. "Master, they're too weak. Leave them to me. I'll teach them a good lesson." The Silver Wolf King's large eyes swept across the snow wolves, and the snow wolves began to shiver pitifully again. The Silver Wolf King's words made the snow wolves' hearts tremble even more. They sincerely prayed for their master. "Don't hand us over to it." However, Lung Ruoxue turned a deaf ear to the pleading looks of the snow wolves. Instead, she agreed with the Silver Wolf King's opinion and nodded. "Well, do as you say." The snow wolves were not strong enough to fight, and they needed to be trained. Following that, Lung Ruoxue moved the Silver Wolf King and the snow wolves into the bangle. The snow wolves then began their painful and devilish training. After taking in the snow wolves, the Snow Rat King was satisfied. Then it asked, "Master, which beast clan should we go next?" Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She thought to herself, "Did I lead the Snow Rat King astray, or does the Snow Rat King have a tendency to take pleasure in others' misfortune?" This little fellow was much more lively than when it had just recognized him as its master. "Which other beast clans are there?" Lung Ruoxue asked after some thought. "Snow Snake Tribe, Snow Rabbit Tribe, Snow Fox Tribe, Snow Leopard Tribe, only these few." The Snow Rat King reported while counting his fingers. "Let's go to the Snow Leopard Tribe. After subduing the Snow Leopard Tribe, go to the Snow Fox Tribe. As for the Snow Snake Tribe and the Snow Rabbit Tribe, we won't be subduing them. We have to leave a few for the White Tiger Tribe," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. However, her words were met with the contempt of both humans and beasts. They did not believe that Lung Ruoxue would have such good intentions. She probably didn't like the Snow Snake and Snow Rabbit clans. Otherwise, she wouldn't let them go. They had to admit that they knew the truth. It was true that Lung Ruoxue didn't like snakes and rabbits, so she let them off. She didn't really like snakes. As for those snow rabbits, they were also food in her eyes. If she took in the snow rabbits, what would they eat in the future? Therefore, not all beasts could be accepted. Of course, if she didn't accept the snow snake and snow rabbit, it would go against her original intention. After all, her goal was to capture all the magical beasts other than the white tiger race in one fell swoop. However, thoughts were dead, but people were alive. So, she really didn't think it was a big deal. Naturally, he wouldn't mind too much. Then everyone continued on their way. Their target this time was the snow leopard tribe. Longevity Mountain was the most suitable place for the beast clans who loved the cold. Hence, the beasts on Longevity Mountain were all the same color as snow. They looked rather beautiful and clean. Lung Ruoxua had always liked cute beasts. Hence, she was rather friendly towards these beasts. Of course, this was only if these beasts knew their own limitations. When they arrived at the territory of the Snow Leopard clan, the Snow Leopard King was also like a clan of snow rats, waiting for them in the territory. When the Snow Leopard King saw Lung Ruoxua and the rest, he did not waste any time and directly said, "Our Snow Leopard clan is willing to acknowledge you as our master. However, you have to treat us better." Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Why did these words sound so awkward? However, Lung Ruoxua could not help but ask, "You're really willing to take the initiative to recognize me as your master?" And the Snow Leopard King nodded, his face filled with determination. At this moment, Old Leopard, who was in the house, sent a voice transmission to Lung Ruoxua and requested to come out. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she had an idea and brought out Old Leopard. Thanks the moment the Old Leopard came out, Lung Ruoxua realized that this Snow Leopard King looked a little similar to the Old Leopard. No wonder when she first saw this Snow Leopard King, it gave her a sense of déjà vu. When the Old Leopard saw the Snow Leopard King, he immediately rushed forward. Just when everyone thought they were going to fight, the two leopards suddenly hugged each other tightly. Was this considered the promiscuous love between the two leopards? Feeling everyone's surprised eyes, Old Leopard coughed awkwardly and then introduced with a blushing face, "He's my cousin." Younger cousin? Lung Ruoxua had not expected that the Old Leopard had relatives on Longevity Mountain. The Old Leopard had hidden himself well. No wonder he knew so much about Longevity Mountain. "Hehe. My cousin is very familiar with your name, little girl." The Old Leopard glanced at everyone's surprised expressions and continued to speak in embarrassment. Of course, he also often bragged about Lung Ruoxua to his cousin. Otherwise, this cousin of his would not have taken the initiative to surrender when Lung Ruoxua was taking in the Beast clan of the Longevity Mountain. One must know that the Snow Leopard clan was still very powerful in the Longevity Mountain. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua knew that she did not need to ask why the Snow Leopard King had surrendered so easily. The Old Leopard's contribution could not be overlooked. After the Snow Leopard King acknowledged the Snow Leopard clan as its master, Lung Ruoxua and the rest headed to the Snow Fox clan without stopping. On the way, the Snow Rat King couldn't help but remind Lung Ruoxua, "Master, the Snow Fox tribe is very powerful and is the second most powerful force on our Longevity Mountain. Therefore, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to subdue them." It doesn't matter. If he couldn't subdue it, he would just kill it directly. Their fur can be made into coats. Lung Ruoxia's voice was bloodthirsty. When the Snow Rat King heard this, its little body could not help but tremble. It could not understand why its master, who had always been very kind, would suddenly become so fierce when facing the Snow Fox tribe. However, the Snow Rat King felt that it was better not to think about things that he could not understand for the time being. Otherwise, it would only tire himself out. With this thought in mind, the Snow Rat King didn't ask any more questions but led the way honestly. Of course, the news of them heading towards the Snow Fox clan had also reached the White Tiger King's ears. Ever since the White Tiger King received the report from his spies that all the affiliated beast clans of the White Tiger race had been absorbed by Lung Ruoxua, he had been unable to suppress the anger in his heart. However, what was the use of being angry? Could it take the initiative to provoke Lung Ruoxua, just because of a few weak beasts? Even though it wanted to maintain the dignity of its race, the thought of Tsong's existence made the White Tiger King immediately shrink back. He didn't dare to provoke the Totoro. Hence, as long as Lung Ruoxua didn't attack the White Tiger race, He could only squint like nothing had happened. He didn't want to take the initiative to send himself to her door and give Lung Ruoxua an excuse to deal with them. Although squinting would cause the prestige of the White Tiger race to be swept to the ground, other than this, he had no other choice. The White Tiger King was so infuriated that his liver was hurting. He had to watch helplessly as Lung Ruoxua brazenly plundered the beasts that belonged to him in the Longevity Mountain. The members of the White Tiger race were even more furious. However, the White Tiger race members who had been ordered by the king and the elders to not take any action did not dare to go against the wishes of their race. Hence they could only sulk on their own. Of course, Lung Ruoxua didn't pay too much attention to the White Tiger race's thoughts. Hence, she had no idea that the White Tiger race at the peak of the Longevity Mountain was already so angry that they were about to vomit blood because of her actions. They were still on their way to the Snow Fox tribe in a good mood. The Snow Fox tribe's encampment was located halfway up the Longevity Mountain. The terrain was extremely steep. However, with the Snow Rat King leading the way, Lung Ruoxua and the others were extremely safe. They had also avoided all the dangerous areas. This reality made the Snow Fox tribe, who had originally planned to use the favorable conditions of time, location, and people to launch an unexpected attack on Lung Ruoxua and the others, greatly disappointed. Within the Snow Fox tribe's main hall. "Your Majesty, what do we do now? Those humans are coming up." An elder of the Snow Fox tribe, who had received the news long ago, looked at his king with a worried expression and asked uneasily, "Since those humans want to die, then let them come." The gigantic Snow Fox King, who was sitting at the head of the table, said calmly after hearing the words of an elder. However, even though it looked very calm on the surface, its heart was already in turmoil. Fuck. His own alliance, the White Tiger race, knew that Lung Ruoxua and the others had come to find trouble, but not only were they unwilling to provide help, they even asked them to think of a way on their own, and even suggested for them to leave the Longevity Mountain to hide. You bastard! They were already blocked at the entrance of their house. Could they avoid it? More importantly, with the damned snow rats tip-off, it was impossible for the Snow Fox clan to avoid Lung Ruoxua and the others. If it had known that it would be betrayed by the Snow Rat clan today, it would have exterminated those damn rats earlier. If that had happened, there would not have been such a thing today. The Snow Fox King was so regretful that its intestines turned green. The hatred it felt towards Lung Ruoxua, and the rest was directed towards the snow rats. At this moment, a Snow Fox tribe guard ran into the main hall in a panic and reported loudly, "Your Majesty, Lung Ruoxua and the rest have arrived at the entrance of our encampment." What? How did he do it so quickly? The Snow Fox King and the elders were shocked. The scout had reported that Lung Ruoxua was still quite a distance away from the encampment. He didn't expect them to arrive so quickly. Chapter 2340. Pretty boy, do you dare to fight me one-on-one? 1. The Snow Fox King could not believe it and could not accept the speed of Lung Ruoxua and the others. It had already sent its clansmen to create obstacles for those people, so why did those damn humans still get to the gate of the encampment? The Snow Fox King was depressed and conflicted about this. The elders of the Snow Fox tribe were also not calm when they heard this. They had long heard of Lung Ruoxua and the others' fearsome reputation. Moreover, the Snow Fox tribe had a close relationship with the White Tiger tribe. Hence, they were naturally aware that two of the White Tiger's reverent god-level experts were injured. Hence, their fear of Lung Ruoxua increased. Now that the goddess of slaughter had brought people to their doorstep, it was easy to imagine how much pressure they were under. However, they were still part of the Snow Fox race. Whether it was the Snow Fox King or the elders of the Snow Fox race, they were not willing to show their fear, in case they were looked down upon by the other beast races. Therefore, all the elders of the Snow Fox tribe looked at the Snow Fox King, hoping that it would come up with a good idea. The Snow Fox King was getting more and more anxious as he looked at the expectant eyes of the elders. You bastard! These useless old things always let it make the decision when something happened. Were they all dead? The Snow Fox King was very angry. Sometimes it really didn't know what was the use of raising these idiots. However, as a member of the Snow Fox tribe, it could not ignore the safety of its tribesmen. Therefore sometimes, it was quite aggrieved as the Snow Fox King. After thinking for a while, the Snow Fox King regained its momentum and said, "Since Lung Ruoxue and the rest have already arrived outside the encampment, let's go out and meet her. At the same time, we'll let the other beast tribes know how powerful our Snow Fox tribe is." After the Snow Fox King finished speaking, he stood up and took the lead to walk out of the hall. The other elders saw this and quickly followed their king's footsteps. A few of them even followed the Snow Fox King and flattered him. The Snow Fox King was praised all the way. It brought its tribe army to the entrance of the Snow Fox tribe's base. Lung Ruoxue, who had been waiting for a while, saw a group of huge snow foxes that were whiter than snow. There was not a single strand of stray fur on their bodies. Her beautiful eyes immediately released a different kind of spirit. Although these snow foxes were of a similar color to white foxes, they were more beautiful than white foxes. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to tell the difference between the two. However, it was obvious that the fur of the snow fox tribe was more suitable to be made into coats. Moreover, the fur of a snow fox tribe was probably enough to make several pieces. Oh! It should be enough to kill the Snow Fox King alone. As for the other foxes, it would depend on whether they knew what was good for them. In an instant, Lung Ruoxue made a decision in her heart. A mountain could not hold two tigers, and a tribe could not hold two Snow Fox Kings. Hence, for the Mei to successfully inherit the throne, she could only kill this Snow Fox King. This could be considered as a warning to the others. Otherwise, these old foxes would not be honest. Since she had chosen the Snow Fox King as her target, Lung Ruoxue naturally did not need to be too polite to it. Hence, when the snow foxes arrived in front of her, Lung Ruoxue deliberately put on an arrogant attitude and said with a displeased expression, "Which one is the Snow Fox King? This king is." When the Snow Fox King heard Lung Ruoxue's words, it snorted coldly. It had thought that Lung Ruoxue was very powerful. They actually dared to come to the Snow Fox tribe to cause trouble with just these few people. They really did not know their own strength. As the Snow Fox tribe was not as well informed as the White Tiger tribe, and they had always been arrogant, the Snow Fox King was not aware that Lung Ruoxue had many people by her side. When it saw 4 people, it truly thought that Lung Ruoxue had only brought a few people with her. As for Tsang, when he came to the Snow Fox tribe, he had changed his appearance slightly. Now he looked like a snow-white cat. The Snow Fox King naturally did not recognize him. Hearing the Snow Fox King's response, Lung Ruoxue looked up and down as if she was looking at her prey. She carefully sized up the Snow Fox King. Just as the Snow Fox King was about to fly into a rage, Lung Ruoxue retracted her beautiful eyes and revealed a faint smile. "Not bad. Not bad. It's big enough to make a fur coat for each of us." Thanks, these words caused the blood pressure of the Snow Fox King to rise instantly, and his anger rose to the top of his head. However, before the Snow Fox King could speak, Song closed his eyes and said with a wronged face, "Am I not getting a share? There are. I'll also make one with you." Lung Ruoxue gently stroked Song's soft fur as she smiled. Hearing this, Song laughed heartlessly. When Jiang Ning heard this, black lines appeared on his forehead. He couldn't help but secretly sigh. This was clearly to anger the Snow Fox King to death. The Snow Fox King, who had also heard this, was indeed angry. It was not just an ordinary anger. It was so angry that it was about to explode. Fuck. He had never heard of a cat wearing a fur coat. Don't you have fur on you? Why did he have to target the other beasts? The Snow Fox King was furious and sorrowful. Suddenly, it felt a gush of blood rushing up from its throat. The Snow Fox King suppressed its anger and swallowed the blood, but the fire in its heart could not be suppressed. Despicable humans. How dare he humiliate the great Snow Fox King? I think you're really tired of living. The furious Snow Fox King roared. As they were close, Lung Ruoxue and the rest could clearly see the Snow Fox King's trembling body. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, "Which part of you is great? I only see that you're about to have epilepsy." He. Hearing this, Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but laugh. Jiang Ning laughed so hard that his body swayed back and forth. He couldn't help but think that Shuer was really too evil. She actually said that the Snow Fox King was sick in such a serious manner. This time, the Snow Fox King was probably going to go crazy from anger. As expected by Jiangning, when the Snow Fox King heard Lung Ruoxia's words, it was so angry that its heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys were all tangled together. Although it did not know what epilepsy was, anything that came out of the mouth of that detestable human woman could not be good. The Snow Fox King had absolute confidence in this. Damn it. Humans. You can die now. The Snow Fox King gritted its teeth in anger and charged towards Lung Ruoxia's direction without hesitation. However, the poor Snow Fox King had just gotten into position and was about to speed up when Lung Ruoxia stopped it. Wait. You old fox, how can you fight just like that? I'm not done yet. Lung Ruoxia shouted. The Snow Fox King, who was in its most handsome pose, almost fell to the ground when it heard her. Fuck. Do I have to wait for you to finish speaking? Who do you think you are? The Snow Fox King was very angry, and the consequences would be very serious. However, it was startled by Lung Ruoxia's sudden loud voice, and it really did stop on reflex. Seeing the Snow Fox King's reaction, Lung Ruoxia nodded in satisfaction and said in an infuriating manner, "Good girl. I'll leave your corpse intact later. You." This time, the Snow Fox King was so angry that it could not even form a complete sentence. Its heaving chest strongly expressed its anger and dissatisfaction, but Lung Ruoxia did not care. Her beautiful eyes swept across the furry foxes in front of her and she continued, "I'll give you a chance to choose. Do you want to surrender, or do you want me to use force?" Chapter 2341. Pretty boy, do you dare to fight me one-on-one? 2. Even Uncle Long couldn't hold it in anymore. Cold sweat dripped down from his forehead, and he couldn't help but wail in his heart. Girl, do you have to say this so ambiguously? Aren't you afraid of the jealous lover beside you? The jealous jar, in his heart, was naturally referring to the evildoer. However, to Uncle Long's surprise, he didn't see a trace of anger on the evildoer's handsome face. This was too abnormal. Could it be that the jealous jar of wine had changed? Uncle Long was full of doubts. At this moment, he heard the evildoer smile faintly and speak in a light tone. Just kill him directly, no need for the trouble. Oh, he was wrong. Uncle Long sighed to himself. Not only did this vinegar jar, not change, but it instead became even more serious. He actually wanted them to be killed directly. Wouldn't it be the most convenient to kill him directly? When the snow foxes at the entrance of the encampment heard the demon's words, their expressions changed again and again. Their snow-white and furry faces were like a palette. In the end, every snow fox's old face turned red. However, the invisible pressure that the demon gave them was too great, so no one dared to talk back for a while. However, they were afraid of the pressure brought by the demon, but it did not mean that the Snow Fox King would be afraid. Furthermore, the Snow Fox King was already blinded by anger. Hence, after the demon finished his sentence, the Snow Fox King immediately roared in anger. "You detestable pretty boy, who do you want to kill? If you want to kill us, why don't you first see if you have the ability?" The words pretty boy made the demon's face darken instantly. Therefore, the demon did not care about what the Snow Fox King said after that. This was because these 3 words could determine the death of the Snow Fox King. Feeling the terrifying cold chi coming from the demon, Uncle Long and Jiangning couldn't help but stay away from the danger zone. However, the two of them were quite impressed by the Snow Fox King's courage, but they couldn't help but sigh. This old fox's death was coming. Hee. He's just a pretty boy. At this time, Azure interjected. Upon hearing this, Uncle Long and Jiangning moved further away to avoid unnecessary trouble. They knew very well that the jealous man would blame the Snow Fox King for what he said. Therefore, the Snow Fox King was a sad character. It was destined. Even if the White Tiger King came personally, it would not be able to help it. However, the Snow Fox King did not sense any danger. After saying those words, it saw that the pretty boy did not have much reaction, and it was even more certain of the identity of the demon pretty boy. It looked at the demon with a faint disdain. Upon seeing this, the demon squinted his obsidian-like bright eyes and sized up the Snow Fox King. Then he said to Lung Ruoxia, "Schwerer, leave this old fox to me." "Good. However, I'm very interested in its fur, so be careful when you attack and don't hurt its fur. Lung Ruoxue reminded him worriedly. Don't worry. I guarantee they're all internal injuries. The demon nodded. The two of them conversed as if there was no one else present. Uncle Long, Jiangning, and the snow foxes broke out in cold sweat as they listened. Internal injuries? Wouldn't that be more serious than an external injury? Thanks. Uncle Long and Jiangning suddenly felt sorry for the Snow Fox King. However, as the main character, the Snow Fox King didn't feel that it was in any danger. It glanced at the demon's strength and said with a look of disdain, "Humph! A puny little emperor dared to speak such arrogant words. Has this king not walked in the divine world for too long? How come this king never knew that even the divine realm's divine emperors dared to provoke a godly venerable rank expert? Yes, it was a reverent god. Although its strength was not the strongest in the Snow Fox clan, it was still ranked in the top 3. Of course, it just happened to be in the 3rd place. The two snow foxes ranked in front of it were both old and experienced figures in the Snow Fox clan. Those two old foxes had been in seclusion all this time. Therefore, it was the most powerful in the Snow Fox clan now. This had naturally cultivated its arrogant and condescending character. Except for the hierarch of the human race and the beast race who were ranked higher than it, it basically didn't care about anyone else. And now, a person like the evildoer who only had the strength of a divine emperor, naturally, he would not enter its eyes. It would never have dreamed that some people's strength could not be measured just by level. It had lived for so long, but it had never met such a person. Therefore, with its limited vision, it naturally did not take the demon's words to heart. However, as a reverent god-level beast, it would not allow itself to be provoked by a divine emperor. In its eyes, the mysterious Uncle Dragon was the most powerful. He was also a reverent god like it. However, it was impossible to tell who was stronger without a battle. As for the other 3 people, including Lung Ruoxue and the rest, they were only at the divine emperor realm. Hence, the Snow Fox King suspected that the news in the divine world had spread Lung Ruoxue's name too quickly. Could a puny divine emperor defeat a reverent god? That's right. That Totoro must have helped her. The Snow Fox King had heard of the legend of the mysterious Totoro, but he did not know Tsong's identity. The Rye Mice would naturally not be stupid enough to reveal Tsong's identity to the outside world. Therefore, other than the 4 divine beast kings, in the eyes of the other beast clans, Tsong was at most a powerful beast. Now the Snow Fox King had not found any trace of the Totoro. And among the 4 people in front of him, there was only one reverent god level. Suddenly, the Snow Fox King was even more confident. It truly felt that its greatest opponent was Uncle Long and not Lung Ruoxue and the other 2. Therefore, it did not feel any pressure at all when it thought of taking care of the pretty boy in its eyes. At the thought of this, the Snow Fox King roared and asked, "Pretty boy, do you dare to fight me one-on-one?" The demon squinted his eyes again. This was the 2nd time this snow fox who was seeking death called him a pretty boy. Very good. Its own pace of seeking death had accelerated. It asked for this. "Are you sure you want to fight me one-on-one? Aren't you going to choose properly? We have 4 people." The demon chuckled as he confirmed. "Of course. I only want to fight you one-on-one." The Snow Fox King did not sense the impending danger, and still spoke fearlessly. This was the 3rd time. The demon's eyes flashed coldly. "King, calm down." Suddenly, the Snow Fox tribe's Grand Elder softly advised. For some reason he felt very uneasy. Furthermore, when he saw the man's carefree appearance, this feeling became even stronger. "Calm down, my ass. They're all being bullied by humans." The Snow Fox King rebuked angrily. It was quite dissatisfied with its Great Elder's dissuasion. "King, this human is deliberately provoking you. Don't be fooled." The Snow Fox Great Elder did not give up. However, the Snow Fox King was getting more and more impatient with its long-winded speech. It could not help but roar. "What do you know? I'm trying to protect the honor of our Snow Fox race. Do you want me to swallow my anger when I see the human in front of me provoking me?" Chapter 2342. Pretty boy, do you dare to fight me one-on-one? 3. Get out of my way. I want to have a one-on-one fight with this pretty boy. The Snow Fox King glanced at the Great Elder and said, "It was the 4th time." He secretly counted the evildoers who held grudges. In this short period of time, he had been called a pretty boy 4 times. Oh. Later he would let the Snow Fox King enjoy his hospitality. Otherwise he would feel sorry for the Snow Fox King's enthusiasm. "Human. You can die now." The Snow Fox King pushed the Great Elder of the Snow Fox clan away, and pounced on the demon with its anger and the might of a supreme god. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest saw this, they quickly jumped to the side to give the two of them some space to fight. While they were watching the battle, they did not forget to observe the reactions of the snow foxes from the corner of their eyes, in case they launched a sneak attack. However, beasts were not as cunning as humans. When the snow foxes saw that their king had started fighting, they all stretched out their necks to watch the battle. None of them wanted to take advantage of the chaos to launch a sneak attack. This also made Lung Ruoxue's impression of them improve. It seemed that these snow foxes were not beyond saving. As she thought of this, Lung Ruoxue's wariness towards the snow foxes also lowered slightly. As for the Snow Fox King who was in the middle of the battle, it was infuriated by the demon's slyness. Fuck. It could be considered an accident if it missed its target, but wasn't the number of accidents it had encountered a little too many? After the battle with the human, it had attacked at least 5 times, but it had not even touched the human's clothes. This fact made it feel irritated. Then, the Snow Fox King flashed its sharp claws, which were emitting a cold air. Like 5 silver threads, they drew an arc in the air and attacked the demon again. Seeing this, the demon dodged slightly without panicking. The divine power contained in the Snow Fox King's sharp claws directly hit a thick giant tree not far away, and the giant tree was cut in half. "Snow Fox King, you didn't hit me. Good luck." The demon reminded him with a smile. The Snow Fox King, who was already angry, became even angrier after hearing these provocative words. Its attacks became even more violent. However, the evildoer kept dodging and had no intention of fighting back. Even so, it did not take long for the huge Snow Fox King to be so tired that it was gasping for breath. "Snow Fox King, you lack too much exercise. It's only been a while, but look at how you're panting." The demon saw that the Snow Fox King's attack was not as powerful as before, and continued to provoke it. "Fuck. Human pretty boy, I won't let you off." As expected, the Snow Fox King still needed some stimulation. After being provoked by the demon, its anger immediately continued to increase. The attacks instantly became fierce again, while evildoer continued to dodge nimbly. "Schwer, is he planning to exhaust the Snow Fox King to death?" Upon seeing the evildoer's actions, Uncle Long came to Lung Ruoxue's side, and asked with a puzzled expression. Seeing this, Jiangning also came over, his face filled with questions. Ugh. Lung Ruoxue did not know how to answer such a question. Could she say that the demon was training the Snow Fox King? She guessed that even if she said that, Uncle Long and Jiangning would not believe her. At this time Azure smiled and said, "It's good to let that old fox be tired. After living for so long, the meat has long been old and not delicious. Exercise more and the meat will be more delicious." It was rare for it to speak up for the demon. Uncle Long and Jiangning fell silent. Eat the Snow Fox King? This wasn't very good, right? Although the two of them weren't kind little white flower goddesses, they still didn't dare to compliment Song's thoughts. However, they firmly believed that Song was just saying it. All of a sudden, out of the corner of his eye, Uncle Long saw the sneaky and mysterious Great Elder of the Snow Fox tribe. Seeing that old fox looking around with a constipated expression on his face, Uncle Long instantly put his guard up again. What was this old thing doing? If anyone dared to launch a sneak attack, he would be the first to attack. However, the Snow Fox tribe's Great Elder looked around for a while, and then looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others with a calm expression. When he saw that they were not looking at him, he quickly turned around and ran back into the tribe. "Schwer, the Snow Fox tribe's Great Elder is running back." Uncle Long reminded him in a low voice. "Thanks, well, it probably went to call for help. It's okay, just ignore it." Lung Ruoxue was very calm. Her beautiful eyes were still on the demon and the Snow Fox King. The poor Snow Fox King, with its 2-meter-long body, was on the verge of collapse as it walked. Its legs began to tremble. Although it was not injured at the moment, its fur was covered with sweat. Its fur was sticky and its breathing was heavier. It was obvious that it was exhausted. Lung Ruoxue felt a little sympathy for this fatty, who didn't seem to exercise much. However, she believed that the Snow Fox King would be able to lose weight successfully after being trained by the demon a few more times. But he didn't know if it would have such an opportunity again. After a long time, the Snow Fox King could no longer attack. He was so tired that he collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath, and his eyes were a little unfocused. It was obvious that the Snow Fox King wanted to rest. This time, it was so tired that it did not have the time to be angry. However, the demon did not want to let the Snow Fox King off so easily. The demon came to the Snow Fox King's side, raised his foot, and kicked the Snow Fox King's huge body a few times. 2 big footprints were left on the Snow Fox King's snow-white fur that was stuck together into a bun. The Snow Fox King was immediately invigorated by the kick. However, it only glared at the demon. Not only did it not make a sound, but it also did not have the intention to stand up and continue attacking. This made the demon feel a sense of accomplishment, and it bullied the Snow Fox King even more without any scruples. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the demon kicked the Snow Fox King, the Snow Fox King did not seem to care. Of course, it was not that the Snow Fox King did not want to be angry, but it had no strength left. It was as if all the strength in its body had been sucked dry. It could not even lift its arms and legs. Otherwise, with its pride as the Snow Fox King and a reverent god, how could it allow a puny human to be so presumptuous? The demon kicked the Snow Fox King's body for a while. He was very, very dissatisfied that his efforts were in vain. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked at the snow foxes behind him. The snow foxes were caught off guard by his gaze, and the timid ones immediately shivered. However, most of the snow foxes revealed wary gazes. At this moment, the demon randomly pointed at a snow fox and said, "You go get me some cold water." When the unfortunate snow fox that was named by him heard these words, it was in a daze and was at a loss. It did not know how to react. Seeing this, the demon could only put on a straight face and deliberately released his own pressure. "Did you not hear what I said? Hurry up and go." In an instant, the snow fox's face turned pale. Then, it turned around and ran away as if a ghost was chasing after it. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she couldn't help but laugh in her heart. Even though she didn't know what the demon was up to, she knew that he would never do anything good. Not long after, the obedient and cowardly snow fox returned. After throwing a wooden bucket to the demon, it ran back to the clan and refused to come out. The demon looked at the wooden bucket full of water in front of him. It was called a wooden bucket, but that was only relative to the snow fox. The water bucket was not small, it was almost as tall as an adult. The water inside was also full, and there was a thin layer of ice on it. The demon was very satisfied with this. Then Lung Ruoxue and the rest of the snow foxes saw the demon gently lift the wooden bucket over his head and pour it down on the Snow Fox King's head. In the blink of an eye, the Snow Fox King had become a fallen chicken, the one that was shivering in the cold. This water was the snow water from Longevity Mountain. The temperature was extremely low. Even if the snow foxes were not afraid of the cold, they did not like such cold water. Moreover, the water had been poured on their bodies. One could naturally imagine the bone-chilling cold. However, what made the snow foxes feel incredulous was that their king was turning into a transparent ice sculpture in front of them. They could even see that the Snow Fox King inside the ice sculpture was clenching its claws into a fist in anger and pounding on the transparent ice wall. This scene made all the snow foxes present completely dumbfounded. Uncle Long and Jiang Ning were also in disbelief. Was the temperature really that low? The two of them were deeply suspicious. However, when they saw Lung Ruoxue's calm expression, they knew in their hearts that it was most likely this girl's doing. However, they had definitely wronged Lung Ruoxue this time. Because the one who did this wasn't her, but Song, who wanted the world to be in chaos. When Evildoer had poured the water on the Snow Fox King, Azure had secretly used the freezing technique to freeze the Snow Fox King. Other than Lung Ruoxue, The only other person who knew about this matter was the demon. However, the evildoer would not be grateful to it. On the contrary, he felt that the annoying fellow was being a busybody. Originally, he was having fun with the Snow Fox King, but that damn cat had to come and interfere. If this was during a battle, it would have stolen his monster. Of course he would not be happy. Evildoer silently turned his head and glared at Cold. Cold returned him a bright smile, and even showed a provocative look. The expression on his face seemed to say, "I'm going to interfere. What can you do to me?" The demon was filled with hatred. At this moment, an angry roar sounded in everyone's ears. Who has the guts to cause trouble in our Snow Fox clan? Chapter 2343. It's scary to be uncultured. 1. When they heard this voice, Lung Ruoxue and the rest exchanged glances with one another. Their expressions were extremely calm. At this moment, two huge figures descended from the sky. Behind them, the Snow Fox tribe's great elder ran back from his tribe, panting heavily. Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and glanced at the two obstacles that blocked most of the sunlight. These were two huge snow foxes, twice the size of the Snow Fox King. After they appeared, the snow foxes present seemed to heave a sigh of relief. The Snow Fox King, which had been frozen into an ice sculpture, struggled even more in the ice. Lung Ruoxue looked at the two of them, then glanced at the Snow Fox King. She then said indifferently, "What's your name? What's your name?" The two snow foxes who had suddenly arrived were stunned, their faces full of question marks. Did this mean that their surnames were very expensive? The two that had never gone to school were literate, but that was only because of their race's heritage. Basically, the two of them were semi-illiterates. In addition, they had been in closed-door cultivation for many years, so they had no idea what Lung Ruoxue's literary words meant. Seeing that the two big fellows were in a daze, Lung Ruoxue, who did not know the truth, was a little angry. Even though she did not know who these two were from the Snow Fox tribe. These two fellows were too rude, weren't they? Not only did he not answer her question, but he also had a blank look on his face. Were her words that difficult to understand? Our surnames are not expensive. After a long while, one of the snow foxes finally gave him face and spoke. However, the moment it opened its mouth, Lung Ruoxue's mind was thrown into chaos. AI. It was terrible to be uncultured. Alright. She knew that she had wronged the two snow foxes. It was not that they were rude, but that they did not understand what she meant. However, not all beastie were uncultured. Uncle Long, for example, had a lot of knowledge. He understood Lung Ruoxue's meaning very well. Hence, when he heard the huge snow fox's sincere words, he held back his laughter until his intestines hurt. It wasn't that he didn't want to laugh, but he was afraid of hurting the two snow foxes' self-esteem when he saw how silly they were. As for Jiang Ning, he was also trying his best to hold back his laughter. His face was red from trying to hold it in. "I know that your surnames are not expensive. What are your names?" Lung Ruoxue was very kind and did not laugh at the two snow foxes. Instead, she asked in a more direct manner. "The Snow Bridge. Shuiyuan." The two snow foxes said one after another. "A sled and a snow book? What a unique name." Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. However, the expression on her face was extremely calm. She then praised, "It's a good name." When the two snow foxes heard her words, their proud tails were about to be raised. One of them even smiled at Lung Ruoxue and said, "Nice, right? We came up with this name ourselves." "Thanks, nice." Lung Ruoxue was very cooperative. Hearing their conversation, the snow foxes could no longer remain calm. Was this the main point? Why did it sound like they were just having a casual conversation? They were enemies, right? However, ever since their two ancestors who had not shown their faces for a long time appeared, the battle that they had been anticipating did not happen at all. Instead, they saw their own ancestor chatting with Lung Ruoxue, who had come to cause trouble, as if nothing had happened. This was something that they could not accept for a moment. However, Lung Ruoxue's thoughts were different from theirs. Based on Lung Ruoxue's lazy thinking, it would be best if she could lure these two powerful reinforcements from the Snow Fox tribe to her side without using force. It was precisely because of this thought that Lung Ruoxue was unusually cooperative with their words. She did not even want to remind them that they were enemies now. Moreover, it was quite interesting to see the snow foxes present being so anxious, but not daring to interrupt. Unlike the snow foxes present, the two ancestor-level figures of the snow fox tribe had a very good impression of Lung Ruoxue when they saw how kind and considerate she was. Hence, after a simple chat with her, the two snow foxes looked at Lung Ruoxue as if they were looking at their own juniors with warmth and affection. Of course, they didn't forget their purpose for coming out. However, the first elder, who was so anxious that he was jumping up and down, was ignored by them. After getting close to Lung Ruoxue for a while, the snow fox who called himself Shui Ran took the initiative to ask, "Little girl, do you have any enmity with our snow fox tribe?" Shui Ran's words were extremely normal, as if she was asking, "Have you eaten today?" Their tone was also very gentle, not at all like when they had just come out. How should I put it? This matter is very complicated. I can't explain it in a few words. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. She would not believe it if someone were to say that she had no enmity with the snow fox tribe. However, if someone were to say that she had a deep grudge against the snow fox tribe, it seemed that the hatred between them was not that deep. In short, she and the snow fox tribe were enemies, at least for now. Furthermore, the snow fox tribe was the white tiger tribe's accomplice, and the white tiger tribe was the fog phoenix's accomplice. If this was the case, the enmity between the snow fox tribe and her seemed to be huge. If you can't explain it in a few words, then let's take our time. We have plenty of time, Shui Ran said with a smile. Her attitude was so kind that all the snow foxes present had looks of disbelief on their faces. Was this the ancestor they knew? The snow foxes blinked their eyes pitifully, with tears in their eyes. Today this ancestor's gentleness surprised them too much. It must be known that the ancestor of the Snow Phoenix tribe had always been very strict with the younger generation of the tribe. It was almost impossible to gain its favor. Moreover, it was not that the young snow foxes in the tribe had not tried to please it, but it did not like any of them. Those young snow foxes were all punished by it without exception. But today what did they see? The fact that the great ancestor Shui Ran was so kind to a human, and a human who came to the snow fox tribe to cause trouble, made all the snow foxes present extremely sad and angry. How did this happen? This was really bullying a fox. Lung Ruoxue could accurately capture the snow fox's low spirits. She smiled and said, "If we talk about it slowly, I'm afraid it'll take several days and nights. It's okay. I'll order people to prepare food. You can tell us slowly. If it's really our snow fox tribe's fault, I'll definitely order these little fox cubs to apologize to you," Shui Mu suggested. Upon hearing this, the snow foxes present were so depressed that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall. They couldn't help but wail in the depths of their hearts. "Old ancestor, don't be such a traitor." Unfortunately, Shui Ran couldn't hear their inner thoughts. Even if she could, she would be ignored. Following that, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao warmly invited Lung Ruoxue and the rest into the snow fox tribe for a chat. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she nodded on behalf of the rest. Then she followed the two old snow foxes and swaggered into the snow fox tribe. Chapter 2344. It's scary to be uncivilized, too. When the demon and the rest saw this, they did not even look at the other snow foxes and followed closely behind. As for the snow fox king that was frozen into an ice sculpture, they deliberately ignored it. When the little snow fox saw this, she couldn't help but exclaim in her heart, "These people were really bold. They really dared to enter." At this moment, many snow foxes were thinking to themselves, could this be the two ancestors' plan to lure the enemy? Otherwise, why would they invite these humans who were trying to destroy the venue in? Such a thought roused the spirits of some snow foxes. They continued to imagine that if that was the case, those humans would be in for a bad time. For a moment, the snow foxes who wanted to see Lung Ruoxue and the others make a fool of themselves were filled with anticipation. However, after Shui Qiao and Shui Ran invited Lung Ruoxue and the others into the snow fox clan, not only did they not immediately cause trouble like some of the snow foxes had expected, They even got the other snow foxes to arrange rooms for them. They also instructed the snow foxes to treat them as distinguished guests and to be on call. After that, he let Lung Ruoxue and the others rest for a day. If there was anything, they could talk about it tomorrow. After making arrangements for Lung Ruoxue and the rest's accommodation, Xue Qiao and Xue Ran left the place where they were staying. As soon as they left, Jiang Ning sat down on a chair in the living room and said in disbelief, This is too much of a joke, right? Aren't we here to cause a scene? Why was he temporarily staying in the Snow Fox tribe instead? Xue, what do you want? Aren't you afraid that they'll lure us in and catch us like turtles in a jar? Where do we escape to? Since we're here, we'll take things as they come. What's there to be afraid of? Don't tell me you're afraid of a few snow foxes? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and smiled. I'm not afraid, but I think it's too troublesome. Besides, the two ancestors of the Snow Fox tribe are very powerful, Jiang Ning said. However, before he could finish, he was interrupted by Uncle Long. Those two old snow foxes, Senior Tsong can deal with them himself. Xue can also deal with them. Uncle Long said confidently, All right. I'm just worrying for nothing. After hearing Uncle Long's words, Jiang Ning couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. Was he being too careful? Why was he the only one feeling nervous? The other people's hearts seemed to be able to withstand more than his. Sob. Jiang Ning was so depressed that he wanted to cry. They were all strong people. He was the weakest. Jiang Ning was filled with grief and indignation. The way he looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others was filled with resentment, as if they had done something wrong to him. Seeing this, Uncle Long patted Jiang Ning's head like a puppy and consoled him. Don't be afraid, Uncle Long will protect you. Uncle Long, you're the best. They're all heartless. Hearing this, Jiang Ning was moved to tears. Uncle Long was such a warm-hearted man. Were all heartless? Lung Ruoxue asked with a half-smile. Arg. It wasn't he. How can you be so heartless? You guys are the kindest people in the divine realm. I've lived for so long, but I've never seen anyone more kind than you. Under Lung Ruoxue's tyrannical abuse, tears welled up in Jiang Ning's eyes as he pitifully surrendered. You're tactful. Lung Ruoxue laughed. Actually, she was just teasing Jiang Ning, who asked her to be so bored. Oh right, we seem to have left the Snow Fox King outside. Lung Ruoxue suddenly recalled a certain pitiful beastie that had been frozen into an ice sculpture. She had been completely forgotten by them. It's fine. Don't worry about it. The Snow Fox tribe will send someone to deal with it. When the demon heard this, he said indifferently, Deal with it? Thanks. Jiang Ning was speechless. Then he asked worriedly, Will the Snow Fox tribe release that idiot from the ice? If that's the case, we'll have worked for nothing. Don't worry, they won't be able to melt that ice. When Azure heard this, he confidently guaranteed. How did you know? Could it be that you were the one who made the ice? Jiang Ning speculated. You're right, but there's no reward. Azure laughed proudly. Upon hearing this, Uncle Long and Jiang Ning were dumbfounded. They thought it was Lung Ruoxue who did it. So it was Tsong. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue put on a "You guys have wronged me. Look." Uncle Long and Jiang Ning were embarrassed. They found an excuse and left the living room. The next morning, just as Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the room, the Snow Fox tribe's attendants who were in charge of serving them had already prepared breakfast. However, the food they prepared was mostly fruits and was not to their taste. However, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were embarrassed to reject the Snow Fox's kind intentions, and reluctantly ate some before letting the Snow Fox attendants take the food away. When the servants in charge of serving Lung Ruoxue and the others heard the order for them to leave, it was as if they had heard the sound of nature. They packed up their things and left Lung Ruoxue and the others' residence as if they were running for their lives. Seeing that the Snow Foxes had disappeared in an instant, Jiang Ning couldn't help but tease. Xue, you're still the most intimidating one. When these Snow Foxes see you, they are like mice seeing a cat. How can you be so sure that I scared them away? Lung Ruoxue asked after hearing Jiang Ning's words. Who else could it be if not you? It's definitely not me. Jiang Ning said matter-of-factly. It's possible for everyone here, including you. Don't forget, you're the Alchemist Guild's vice president, the person all humans and beasts have to curry favor with. It would be strange if they're not afraid of you. Lung Ruoxua explained with a smile. Lung Ruoxia's words made Jiang Ning speechless. This girl was getting more and more into making things up. What was even more infuriating was that sometimes, everyone clearly knew that Lung Ruoxua was lying through her teeth, but they still echoed her. Of course, he was one of those people. This was also something that made him very depressed. However, he did not feel depressed for long. After receiving the report from the snow foxes that Lung Ruoxua and the rest had already had their breakfast, Xue Qiao and Xue Ran came to their residence together. Then, the two snow foxes invited them to the meeting hall of the Snow Fox tribe, and explained in detail why they had come to the Snow Fox tribe to cause trouble, and what kind of enmity there was between the two families. Lung Ruoxua and the rest went forward happily. When they arrived at the Snow Fox clan's assembly hall, Lung Ruoxua and the rest had just sat down when they saw the frozen Snow Fox King being carried into the assembly hall by a few snow foxes. When Xue Ran saw the Snow Fox King, she smiled and said to Lung Ruoxua and the rest, "Let our Snow Fox King listen too." She was very observant and did not directly request Lung Ruoxua and the rest to unfreeze the Snow Fox King. Hence, its little thoughts naturally did not arouse Lung Ruoxua and the rest's resentment. Furthermore, no one requested for them to unfreeze the Snow Fox King, and they would not rush it either. Lung Ruoxua even maliciously felt that it was better for the Snow Fox King to be frozen, in case it was driven to desperation. All right, Lung Ruoxua nodded. Then, she moved Snow Shadow out of her bracelet. Chapter 2345, It's Scary to Be Uncultured 3. Although Xuering was in the bracelet, he was very clear about everything that was happening outside. When he saw the two ancestors of the Snow Fox tribe sitting in the upper seats, Xuering politely saluted them and said, "Old ancestor, I am Xuering." "Snow Shadow? Little Snow Shadow? Hehe. I haven't seen you for so many years and you've grown so big." When Xue Ran first heard this name, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she realized that this was the little fellow that she used to like very much. But why was it with this human girl? Last night, after asking the juniors in the clan, it had already found out Lung Ruoxia's identity. Because of this, it had even sighed and moaned with the snow bridge for an entire night. Today, it had seen Xueying again, so the doubts in its heart were getting deeper and deeper. Could it be that something big had happened in the clan while he and the snow bridge were in seclusion? Xue Ran was very uneasy. More than 100,000 years ago, the internal war of the Snow Fox tribe had caused it to feel quite sad. At that time, it and the snow bridge were in seclusion. By the time they knew about that matter and came out of seclusion, the matter had already been settled. Even if the two of them wanted to turn the tide, it was too late. The king of the Snow Fox tribe had died before they came out. That was the only purple-eyed snow fox in the Snow Fox tribe for hundreds of thousands of years. He had been harmed by some greedy and ambitious tribesmen. However, the back of one's hand was still meat. The king had already passed away. At that time, the Snow Fox tribe had basically undergone a major bloodline change. The elders were almost all the trusted aides of the current Snow Fox king. For the stability of the Fox tribe, the two of them had no choice but to agree to the succession of the current Snow Fox king. However, from that time on, they rarely shut themselves in. Moreover, in order to prevent the Snow Fox king from monopolizing the power, the two of them had played many tricks in the Elders Guild. After tens of thousands of years of operation, there were many of their trusted aides in the Elders Guild, and the power of the Snow Fox king had been reduced by a lot. However, they were of the same race. As long as the Snow Fox king was loyal to the Fox race, the two of them would not do anything to the Snow Fox king. Therefore, the Snow Fox king had kept a low profile for a while. After a long time of planning and observation, they confirmed that the Snow Fox king had done his best for the Fox tribe. For the sake of their own strength, the two of them continued to cultivate in seclusion. It had only been about 10,000 years since then. They felt that the Snow Fox king would not do anything bad in such a short time. But now that she saw Xuering, Xue Ran suddenly became worried. Without batting an eyelid, she turned to look at the Snow Fox Great Elder. Seeing the great elder shake his head at her, Shui Ran's heart immediately sank. Could something have really happened? And the great elder actually didn't know? The great elder of the Snow Fox tribe was the junior who was fully supported by Shui Ran and Shui Qiao. He was also responsible for monitoring the Fox King's every move. If he found anything amiss with the Fox King, he would immediately report it to them. However, over the years, this great elder had rarely reported to them. Therefore, the two of them had always thought that the Fox tribe was peaceful, and that the Snow Fox King was very obedient. However, at this moment, Shui Ran wasn't too sure. Or could it be that the great elder had also been bribed by the Snow Fox King? Helped it hide from him? Shui Ran's eyes turned sharp as she looked at the Snow Fox tribe's grand elder. When First Elder saw this, he felt wronged. Although it knew that it did not report everything about the Snow Fox King to the two ancestors, it could guarantee that what it did not say was insignificant. At least, it would not affect the safety of the clan. More importantly, the Snow Fox King was very wary of it. It would only discuss many things with its confidants and would not tell it anything at all. Moreover, its strength was not as good as the Snow Fox King. Therefore, it was very hard for it to monitor the Snow Fox King. In addition, although it occupied the position of the great elder of the Elders' Council, and the Snow Fox King had given it enough respect in the tribe, it knew that in the eyes of the Snow Fox King, it was just a decoration that could allow the Snow Fox King to deal with its ancestor. In addition, in the eyes of the Snow Fox King, it might not even be as important as an ordinary tribe member. This was also the sorrow of the great elder. But now, not only did the old ancestor not understand him, but he even doubted him. This made him feel very wronged. As he thought about it, this old fox's eyes blinked with tears, as if he was about to cry. However, at this time, Shui Ran couldn't care about vindicating it. She glanced at Shui Ying and continued, "Little Shui Ying, why are you with this little girl? Shui is my savior." Shui Ying said in an unusually calm manner. What happened?" Shui Ran quickly asked. "A few years ago, I was hunted down by the Snow Fox King and almost died. If it wasn't for Shui who saved me, I'm afraid that I would never be able to return to the tribe in this life. I would also die with my eyes open." Shui Ying glanced at the frozen Snow Fox King and continued, "Thanks, what's going on?" Upon hearing this, Shui Ran was furious. Was the Snow Fox King's old habit back? Why did it like to attack its clansmen so much? When they killed the previous Snow Fox King, they had already let it go. Who would have thought that they would return to their old ways and kill ordinary tribesmen? This was preposterous. Shui Ran was extremely angry. The way she looked at the great elder of the Snow Fox tribe became more and more unfriendly. However, when she saw that the great elder was also shocked, she felt a little better. First Elder shouldn't know about this either, right? However, as the grand elder of the Snow Fox tribe, something had actually happened that it did not know about. Wasn't it a little too negligent as a grand elder? As it thought about this, its gaze became sharp again. "First Elder, what do you have to say about this?" Shui Ran coldly questioned the grand elder. The great elder's face paled as he hurriedly knelt down and said, "Ancestor, I'm not too sure about this." "You're not sure? Aren't you the great elder of the Snow Fox tribe? You don't even know about such a big thing? Or could it be that the Snow Fox King could kill his own tribesmen without the consent of the Elder Council?" Shui Ran's words were absolutely contradictory, but it had to ask this. The scene today reminded it of hundreds of thousands of years ago, when the current Snow Fox King wanted to usurp the throne. Most of the elders in the Elder Council agreed, because they had been bribed. However, after tens of thousands of years of hard work, after it and the Snow Bridge used various excuses to deal with the elders who betrayed the previous Snow Fox King. It did not believe that the current Snow Fox King could still control the elders. If that was the case, wouldn't all their years of hard work be in vain? It did not believe that the fruits of its hard work and the Snow Bridge's labor would be wasted by these useless juniors. Moreover, before they went into seclusion, they had emphasized that they must not let the Snow Fox King harm their tribesmen. However, they did not expect that after the Snow Fox tribe had calmed down, something like this would happen to them. How could Shui Ran and Shui Qiao not be angry? Forefather, the Elder Council doesn't know about this at all. The Snow Fox tribe's head elder said with a wronged expression. You don't know? Then what does your elder council do? Shui Ran became even angrier after hearing the great elder's words. However, she believed that the great elder wasn't lying, because many of the elders present had a confused expression on their faces after hearing Shui Ying's words. However, some of them clearly had a guilty conscience. You tell me, you don't know either? Shui Ran suddenly pointed at an elder who was about to lower his head. Old ancestor, I don't know either. The elder who was called stuttered. You don't know? Shui Ran narrowed her eyes and glared at the elder with an unfriendly look. Did he think she was a 3-year-old child? Was it that easy to fool? Did it think that it could get away with it by saying that it didn't know? Shui Ran was very angry. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua stood up with a sweet smile and walked to Shui Ran's side. She said indifferently, Senior Shui Yuan, there's no need to go through the trouble of asking them one by one. I have a pill that can make them tell the truth after eating it. Would Senior like to try it? Lung Ruoxua was like a grandmother wolf who was trying to seduce Little Red Riding Hood. As for Little Red Riding Hood, Elder Shuama was really interested when she heard that. She said with certainty, Is there really such a pill? Shui Ran blinked her clear and beautiful eyes. She looked extremely pure and innocent, more like a giant plush toy. Lung Ruoxua had to endure it again and again. Otherwise, she would have touched her. It was too cute. Lung Ruoxua looked at Shui Ran, who was acting cute. Her beautiful eyes emitted an eerie green light like a wolfess, but she still held it in. It really wasn't easy. I have all kinds of pills. There's nothing you can't think of, but there's nothing I can't make. Lung Ruoxua said without any exaggeration. However, the Snow Foxes present did not really believe her words. This was because even the most powerful alchemists would not dare to say such big words. Then give me a few. Shui Ran asked curiously, but she quickly changed her words. No, just give me more. After saying that, its beautiful eyes swept across the elders again, causing the hearts of the elders to tremble in fear. This was because the elders truly felt that no matter how they looked at it, the old ancestor seemed to be counting how many elders needed to eat such a pill. Lung Ruoxua was very generous. She immediately took out a white jade porcelain bottle and stuffed it into Shui Ran's hands. She smiled and said, Take it and play. It's very effective. After she finished speaking, she sat back in her original position and prepared to watch the show. However, when Shui Ran heard Lung Ruoxua's words, she really wanted to tell her that she didn't want to play. However, it also felt a little lacking in confidence, because it was indeed a little excited in its heart. After lightly coughing a few times, Shui Yuan put on a serious expression and opened the bottle's stopper, taking out a pitch-black medicinal pill. She said to the elder she had previously called out, Eat this pill. Chapter 2346. Real or Fake Medicinal Effects. 1. The elder's legs turned to jelly and his face turned ashen. Could it not eat it? Looking at that pitch-black pill that didn't look like anything good, and was indeed not anything good, the unlucky elder who had been called out felt his little heart begin to tremble. Spare him. He really didn't want to eat this. Who knew what would happen if he ate it? The main thing was that if the elixir was effective and caused it to say something it shouldn't have, the Snow Fox King wouldn't be able to protect it, and the Snow Fox King might not even be able to protect itself. Therefore, this timid elder was so depressed and conflicted that he wanted to bang his head against a wall. Why don't I play dead? An elder who felt that he couldn't avoid it thought for a moment. Then the crowd and the foxes watched helplessly as the elder, who was about to be forced to take the pill with unknown effects, fell unconscious with his eyes rolled back. At that moment, the Snow Fox tribe elders shot disdainful glances at the unlucky elder who had fainted. There was not a single trace of sympathy in their eyes. This is really too embarrassing, don't you think? However, after such a thing happened, the hearts of all the Snow Fox elders trembled. Although this old thing had fainted, looking at the old ancestor's appearance, it seemed that he would not let them get away with it so easily. Therefore, it was possible that the other elders would also be in trouble. This fact caused the Snow Fox tribe elders to tremble in fear. Even though not all the Snow Fox elders felt guilty, When faced with the pill that could possibly make all the foxes speak the truth, even the snow fox elders who did not feel guilty felt a little fearful. Regardless of whether the effects of the pill were real or fake. What if it was a fake medicine, and the effects were not as good as Lung Ruoxua had described? If that was the case, it would not be a big deal even if they ate it. What was scary was that the pill was real, and the effects were as good as Lung Ruoxua had said. It could cost a fox's life. All the snow fox tribe elders present had lived for many years. No one could guarantee that they did not have any secrets that they did not want others to know about. Therefore, even the snow fox elders, who followed the two ancestors' lead, were worried that the two ancestors would also give them this medicinal pill in a fit of anger. If they were to say something like that, you all know what to do. At that time, they would definitely. When the elders thought of this, they all shivered at the same time. When they glanced at Lung Ruoxua from the corner of their eyes, they also revealed an endless amount of resentment. However, Lung Ruoxua, who had an extremely strong mental fortitude, naturally would not feel guilty just because of a few resentful looks. In reality, she could not wait to see the Snow Fox tribe's elders make a scene. This way, after Meijin became the king of the Snow Fox race, these old fogies wouldn't dare to take advantage of their seniority. It was a pity that the elders of the Snow Fox tribe did not understand Lung Ruoxua's intentions. Otherwise, they would be even more depressed. Because this method of making them honest was really too hateful. Thanks furthermore, if they knew Lung Ruoxua's thoughts, they might even try to curry favor with her to avoid taking the medicine. But now, all they could do was to wait for the next unlucky fellow to come. At this moment, the Snow Fox elders naturally hoped that they would not be the next unlucky fellow. As long as it wasn't them, they didn't care who was unlucky. From this, it could be seen that the Snow Fox tribe gave people a feeling of unity on the outside, but in fact they were not that airtight on the inside, and it was impossible for people to take advantage of loopholes. At the very least, Lung Ruoxua had taken advantage of this loophole. You're really useless. At this moment, Shui Ran, who had been in a daze for a long time after seeing the elder it had pointed out faint, also came back to its senses. After it came back to its senses, it began to curse in a resentful manner. Senior Shui Yuan, do you need my help to wake this elder up? Lung Ruoxua suggested with a smile when she saw how angry Shui Ran was. You have a way? After hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, Shui Ran's eyes lit up. It could kill anyone, but it really didn't have the ability to save people. While the other elders had a pitiful look on their faces and did not dare to speak, Lung Ruoxua, who had the courage to speak up and take responsibility, naturally won Shui Mu's favor. Hence, the way it looked at Lung Ruoxua became gentler. But my method is a bit. I just don't know if Senior Shui Ran would be willing to do it. Lung Ruoxua laughed in embarrassment, and even lowered her head in feigned shyness. The Snow Fox elders who were present could not help but sigh in their hearts. You bastard! You're shy? He was too shameless. No matter how they looked at it, Lung Ruoxua didn't seem like someone who would be shy. The Snow Fox elders looked at him in disdain. There's still that. What is it? Although the Snow Fox elders did not understand the meaning behind Lung Ruoxua's words, based on their simple understanding of this human, they believed that the thing that this fellow was talking about was definitely not as simple as it seemed. All the Snow Fox elders shuddered again. Well, don't humans have a saying? Don't you want to die? Therefore, at this moment, all the Snow Fox elders were disloyal, and hoped that their ancestor would agree to Lung Ruoxua's idea. Otherwise, the next unlucky fellow might appear among them. This was something that none of the Snow Fox elders wanted to see. At this moment, all the Snow Fox elders were thinking that as long as they were not the unlucky ones, they could not care less about the others. However, after Lung Ruoxua had finished speaking, Shui Yuan did not say a word. This caused the hearts of the Snow Fox elders, who were eager for their great ancestor to agree to Lung Ruoxua's request, to palpitate. For a moment, the eyes of the Snow Fox elders all gathered on Shui Yuan. Although they had tried their best to hide their thoughts, the flash of anticipation in their eyes still hurt Shui Yuan's eyes. When did the Snow Fox tribe fall to such a state? Shui Ran's heart ached. Although it had been summoned by the great elder the day before, It had understood the current situation of the Snow Fox tribe in just one night. The current Snow Fox tribe was unstable. The collective sense of honor and belonging of the younger generation was not strong enough. It could tolerate all these because in its eyes, they were all children. Through education, it could increase their sense of belonging to the tribe and strengthen their motivation. But what it did not expect was that these important elders of the Snow Fox tribe were also like this. This really made it very disappointed. The Snow Fox was extremely disappointed and blamed itself. It felt that it had not fulfilled its duty as an ancestor. If it and the Snow Bridge had not allowed the Snow Fox King to manage the Snow Fox tribe after they had felt that the Snow Fox tribe was stable, the Snow Fox tribe would not have been what it was today. Chapter 2347. Real or Fake Medicinal Effects. 2. Shui Ran, who was uncultured, didn't know that there was a saying among humans, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Therefore, it had placed all the responsibility on itself and the Snow Bridge. However, in fact, after the Snow Fox tribe had a new king, what kind of excellent offspring could the current Snow Fox King, who had evil intentions, produce? As the saying goes, follow the example. With the current Snow Fox King's character, those little snow foxes who idolized the Snow Fox King would naturally imitate the behavior of the Snow Fox King. Therefore, the current Snow Fox tribe only looked united on the surface, but in fact, they had long been a piece of rotten wood, riddled with holes. Of course, he couldn't just take down an entire tribe of snow foxes with a single blow. There were snow foxes with a strong sense of justice among the snow foxes. However, in this polluted environment, most of the snow foxes were extremely selfish. Therefore, those snow foxes who wanted to do their best for their tribe naturally became the odd ones among the other snow foxes, and were ostracized by most of the snow foxes. Over time, the number of snow foxes who would truly plan for the Snow Fox tribe would naturally decrease. After all, no one wished to be ostracized by their tribe. Otherwise, such a snow fox would definitely not have a place in the tribe. In the past 10,000 years, there were many who left the Snow Fox tribe quietly because they were disappointed in the tribe. As for Shuiying, he was not the only snow fox who had been rejected and hunted by the Snow Fox King. Of course, he would not be the last. However, Shuiying's luck was probably the best out of all the snow foxes, because he was lucky enough to meet Lung Ruoxue. Now, Lung Ruoxue was not afraid of the Snow Fox tribe, and was willing to stand up for him. Hence, the gratitude Shuiying felt towards Lung Ruoxue could not be described with words. Furthermore, there was a charm by Lung Ruoxue's side. This purple-eyed snow fox had long been regarded by Shuiying as the Snow Fox tribe's future hope. Hence, he naturally valued Lung Ruoxue even more. One had to know that Lung Ruoxue was the master of the Mei. The Mei was also very obedient to Lung Ruoxue, so it knew very well that as long as Lung Ruoxue spoke up for the Snow Fox tribe in front of the Mei, it would be more effective than any other snow fox's words. Furthermore, Shuiying had a deep understanding of Lung Ruoxue's abilities. Hence, even if it was not because of the charm, he sincerely felt that if he could befriend Lung Ruoxue, it would definitely be more beneficial than harmful to the Snow Fox tribe. At the moment, the premise of all this was that the king of the Snow Fox tribe had to be replaced by a fox. Otherwise, forget about befriending Lung Ruoxue. Humans and beasts like them would be hunted down by the Snow Fox tribe. If that was the case, the day of the Snow Fox tribe's extinction would not be far away. And now, Shuiying was bent on pushing Mei to the position of the Snow Fox King. Fortunately, Lung Ruoxue also felt that Shuiying's idea was not bad. As such, Shuiying naturally did not have to take many detours on the path of convincing Mei. It also did not take much effort, which made Shuiying feel rather fortunate. As such, in Shuiying's opinion, the most important thing now was to verify the crimes of the Snow Fox King. All of this required the two ancestors to come forward. However, seeing that Shui Ran and Shui Qiao did not speak for a long time, Shuiying could not help but feel a little anxious. Old ancestor, I think Shui Er's idea is not bad. Let her try it. Snow Shadow advised. When he said this, a certain elder, who was pretending to be unconscious, was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Fuck. So what if I killed your entire family? Why do you want to harm me like this? The unconscious elder felt indignant. However, he knew that he was pretending to be dead. Therefore, he had no other choice but to suppress his anger. He couldn't reveal his true identity just because of someone else's words, right? If that was the case, his position as an elder would probably be over. However, it was also very difficult for it to hold it in. It was so angry that its limbs were twitching. Fortunately, no one was paying attention to it now, so it was lucky to escape. However, even if no one else noticed it, it did not mean that Lung Ruoxue did not see it. However, Lung Ruoxue would not take the initiative to expose him for pretending to be dead, because that would be too immoral. Lung Ruoxue thought of herself as a well-mannered young man who respected the old and loved the young. Naturally, she would not do something so ungentlemanly. Meanwhile, all the Snow Fox tribe elders present were now looking at Xueying, because Xueying had said what they did not dare to say. Thanks all of a sudden, all the elders were in awe of Snow Shadow. The Snow Shadow did not get carried away by the worship of the elders, because it felt that it did not need it at all. Its pair of sincere eyes were fixed on the snow ridge and the snow bridge. Facing such a sincere pair of eyes, Xue Ran and Xue Qiao truly felt that this child was not gloating, but was truly doing this for the good of the Snow Fox tribe. With this thought, the two white foxes quickly exchanged glances. Then Xue Ran spoke. "Little girl, I'll have to trouble you then." "No trouble at all. It's just a small matter," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. With that, she stood up and walked towards the unconscious fox. Sob. As Lung Ruoxue slowly walked closer, a certain fox elder who was pretending to be unconscious on the ground suddenly felt his heart beating like thunder. If it wasn't for the fact that his fur was thicker, his heart rate would have been noticed by the other foxes. However, at this time, the elder who was pretending to be unconscious could only bite his lips and hold his forelimbs, suppressing the urge to get up and run away. He lay stiffly on the ground, feeling that he could do nothing. This kind of feeling was somewhat like waiting for death. Wu. A certain elder was indignant. He felt that it was a stupid idea to pretend to be unconscious, but now he couldn't get off. He could only continue to pretend. Otherwise, where would he put his face in the future? After a short moment, a certain elder could already feel Lung Ruoxue approaching. This was even after Lung Ruoxue had intentionally slowed down her pace. Otherwise, it would not have taken so long to cover such a short distance. As she walked closer, Lung Ruoxue squatted down. First, she sized up the white fox in front of her. Then, a dagger that was emitting a frighteningly cold air, and so bright that it could almost shine on a person, appeared in her hand. The cold light emitted by the sharp dagger almost blinded the eyes of the Snow Fox elders. All the Snow Fox elders turned pale with fright. What was he doing? The hearts of the Snow Fox elders began to race uncontrollably. Many of the more timid Snow Fox elders were already breaking out in cold sweat, and most of their long fur was wet. Just as the Snow Foxes were feeling apprehensive and confused, they saw Lung Ruoxue gesturing at the unconscious elder's body, as if she was trying to find a good spot to cut. At this moment, they seemed to have felt the coldness of the dagger and shuddered. Pfft! With a loud sound, the dagger in Lung Ruoxue's hand cut the side of the fainted fox's heart. When the Snow Fox elders saw this, it was as if they felt the same way. They felt the pain and covered their faces. He was really too ruthless. It was no wonder that the people of the god world called Lung Ruoxue the Demoness. Today they had finally witnessed Lung Ruoxue's ruthlessness. Chapter 2348. The authenticity of the medicinal effects. 3. However, they were obviously wrong. To Lung Ruoxue this was nothing. She had been merciful. Of course, none of the foxes knew what Lung Ruoxue was thinking. Otherwise, these foxes would have fainted from shock. No, it should be that even if they were afraid, they didn't dare to faint. Otherwise, they would definitely be treated the same way as the elder who had fainted. At this time, the elder who pretended to faint also received his retribution. Because of the sudden pain, he really fainted. At first, it had wanted to pretend to be dead and endure the pain. It thought that the pain would pass after a while. After all, as a fox with some success in cultivation, this bit of pain was still bearable. But unexpectedly, The pain that it thought was bearable suddenly intensified. The pain came so suddenly and so violently that it almost didn't have time to react before it really fainted. However, other than Lung Ruoxia, no one else knew that a certain unlucky fox elder had really fainted from the pain. Hence, when the snow fox elders saw that the fox elder did not give himself away from the pain even after he was stabbed, they were not sure if the fellow on the ground before them had really fainted or if he was faking it. Some of the foxes even doubted their own judgment. Was this guy not pretending? Many of the snow fox elders' faces were filled with question marks. At this moment, seeing how Lung Ruoxia was publicly mistreating her own junior, Shui Ran was stunned for a moment before she regained her senses. Then she said in a silly manner, "Little girl, what were you doing just now?" In fact, what it wanted to ask was, "Why did you do that just now?" Although it was a little angry at the elder in front of it for being so disappointing, he was still its junior after all. Therefore, it still felt a little heartache when it saw that fellow being stabbed in front of it. However, even though it felt heartache, it would not offend Lung Ruoxia publicly because of this fox. Hence, it asked in a reserved manner with a trace of curiosity on its face, "I'm helping it. Let it bleed." I'm guessing that the reason it fainted before was because there was too much blood, and its heart couldn't handle it. "Don't worry. It'll wake up in a while," Lung Ruoxia promised with a smile on her face. At this moment, the expression on her beautiful face was as sincere as it could be. Even Shui Ran nodded her head without a doubt after hearing Lung Ruoxia's words, indicating that she believed Lung Ruoxia. But even if Shui Ran believed it, it didn't mean that all the elders present would believe it. Some of the elders, who had been suspecting that the unlucky fox was pretending to faint, couldn't help but sneer when they heard this. At the same time, they also had a deeper understanding of Lung Ruoxia's shamelessness. He even let out blood? These words could only fool a 3-year-old child. However, what made some of the elders depressed was that old grandmadam actually believed Lung Ruoxia's words so innocently. This fact made these elders cry out in their hearts, "Old grandmadam, can you not act so innocent?" However, Shui Ran did not know how to read minds, so she naturally had no way of knowing what they were thinking. Furthermore, Shui Ran, who had no doubt in Lung Ruoxia's words, really started to wait patiently. Lung Ruoxia, who was watching from the side, suddenly felt guilty when she saw how much Shui Ran trusted her and how sincere she was. Should she be fooling an innocent fox like this? Furthermore, Qingju had also told her that Xue Ma had truly believed her words. As such, Lung Ruoxia's guilt deepened. After some thought, Lung Ruoxia quietly sprinkled some colorless and odorless powder on the wound of the elder she had stabbed. It was better to wake this old fox up. Although she didn't want to be so kind, and the torture she gave this old fox was lighter than she had imagined, she couldn't continue to torture this old fox in front of Shui Ran when she saw the look of anticipation on her face. Under Lung Ruoxia's rare kindness towards her enemies, the white fox that had fainted from the pain finally woke up. The moment it woke up, its mind was still in a state of confusion. However, in the blink of an eye, it immediately sobered up. The reason why it sobered up so quickly was because it saw Lung Ruoxia, who was crouching beside it with a faint smile, from the corner of its eye. In the next second, the big white fox, who was frightened by Lung Ruoxia, jumped up as if it was asking for help. It hid behind Shui Ran and cried, "Forefather, save me. This human wants to kill me. Didn't you pass out long ago? You actually know that I'm going to kill you?" Lung Ruoxia asked with a smile. Thanks. The moment she said this, the unlucky elder who had complained immediately received many looks of distrust. "I am covered in blood, and you're the only one by my side. If it wasn't you, who else could it be?" A certain snow fox elder's reaction was not slow. His mind turned quickly as he quickly explained. It was a pity that even though it said so, the looks of distrust in their eyes did not decrease but increased instead. However, at this moment, Lung Ruoxia clearly did not want to discuss a certain fox's low moral character with the other foxes. Instead, she changed the topic and said to Shui Ran, "Senior Shui Yuan, your junior has already woken up. I think it's time to give it some medicine." Upon hearing the words "take medicine," the unlucky snow fox elder suddenly reacted. Damn it. How could it have forgotten about the medicine? However, before it could think of a solution, it saw Shui Ran nod. Then it was grabbed by a giant claw. Then it felt its mouth being opened and a small pill was put into its mouth. The pill melted in its mouth and slid down its throat along its saliva. Immediately after, Shui Ran let go of the elder it was holding. Cough cough. As soon as he regained his freedom, the elder who had been forced to feed the pill coughed several times in an attempt to spit it out. Seeing that it was ineffective, he reached his claws into his throat and tried to dig out the pill. Seeing this, Shui Ran was even more disappointed. If it wasn't guilty, would it be so nervous? Shui Ran's face was filled with distrust. When the Snow Fox elders saw this, they could not help but lower their presence to avoid being caught by their ancestor. Don't waste your energy. The medicine will melt in your mouth. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue could not help but give a kind reminder when she saw that a certain elder was still trying hard to remove the pill from his mouth. Hearing this, the elder's face turned ashen. Ooh. It wanted to die, alright? However, no matter how sorrowful its thoughts were, Lung Ruoxue did not have the time to appreciate it. She gave the unlucky elder a "you take care" look before turning around and returning to her seat. The moment Lung Ruoxue sat down, she received a message from Jiang Ning. Shui, that medicine of yours, can it really make people tell the truth? What, you don't believe me? Do you want to try? Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked with a smirk. Don't. I don't want to try. I believe you. I'll believe you if anyone doesn't believe you. I'll fight with whoever dares to doubt you. Hearing this, Jiang Ning was so scared that he quickly promised. Then let's wait for a good show. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she reminded him. I just don't know when the medicine will take effect. Jiang Ning asked curiously. Judging from the poor elder's current appearance, he should be fine. In 10 minutes. Lung Ruoxue laughed. That long? Jiang Ning was speechless. It's better to take a longer time. Let it think that the medicine didn't work. This way, it can lower its guard and let it get carried away. When the time comes, more secrets will be revealed. Lung Ruoxue replied matter-of-factly. You're really too evil. Because of Lung Ruoxue's words, Jiang Ning broke out in a cold sweat. This was definitely a battle of the heart. At this moment, he felt even more strongly that he would rather offend the Divine Master than provoke this little girl. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was because Jiang Ning believed that God Lord Rivermist didn't have the brains to think of so many ways to trick someone. Jiang Ning was glad that he was wise enough not to become Lung Ruoxue's enemy. Otherwise, with his intelligence, he would not be able to outsmart this little girl. This girl would never play her cards according to the rules. Unless one could read her mind, it would not be easy to read her mind. Right now, Jiang Ning was extremely sympathetic towards the Snow Fox tribe. Hopefully, these beautiful foxes knew their place and would not go against Lung Ruoxue too badly. If that was the case, this little girl would probably show mercy on account of his beastie and Shuang. He was clear that Shuang hoped that the purple-eyed snow fox by Lung Ruoxue's side could become the king of the Snow Fox tribe. Lung Ruoxue did not object to this suggestion. Hence, in his eyes, the Snow Fox tribe would be Lung Ruoxue's sooner or later. Hence, he who did not need to make a move was happy to watch the show. As time passed by, Shui Ran, Shui Qiao, the Snow Fox elders, and even the Snow Fox king that was sealed in ice, all turned their attention to the unlucky fox. They were so focused because they wanted to see if the pill that Lung Ruoxue had mentioned was effective. However, after a few minutes, the white fox that had eaten the pill did not say a single word, even though its face was pale. Could it be that the medicinal effect was a lie? All the Snow Fox elders and the Snow Fox king thought in their hearts at the same time, and they all heaved a sigh of relief. This was because they truly did not wish for this pill to be as Lung Ruoxue had described, to be able to make people speak the truth. If such a pill really existed in the world, how terrifying would that be? At the thought of this, they shuddered in unison. They didn't wish for such a reality to come true. Otherwise, this medicinal pill would definitely be the greatest nightmare of their lives. However, Shui Yuan and Shui Qiao's feelings were rather complicated. Their feelings were in a state of entanglement, where they both hoped that the medicine would work, but were also afraid that the medicine would take effect. Chapter 2349, Secret 1. In contrast to the Snow Fox tribe's thought-provoking mood, although Uncle Long and the demon did not ask Lung Ruoxue about the effects of the medicine like how they did in Jiangning, the two of them deeply felt that some of the foxes had let their guard down too early due to their trust in Lung Ruoxue. All of a sudden, the white fox, who had taken the truth-telling elixir, saw that it had not said anything and immediately felt relieved. Then it laughed wildly and said loudly, "Ha ha ha! I knew your medicine was fake. You human liar, you actually dared to come to the Fox clan to bully our old ancestor. You're really tired of living." After saying this, the unlucky elder turned his eyes to Xue Qiao and Xue Ran, and continued to roar, "Ancestor, let me help you destroy this detestable human." A certain Snow Fox elder felt that the elixir that had scared him so much had no effect. As such, he could finally hold his head high. He had originally wanted to take advantage of the situation, but he suddenly became strong. Furthermore, without waiting for Xue Ran and Xue Qiao's reply, he could not wait any longer and rushed towards Lung Ruoxue. By the time Xue Ran and Xue Qiao reacted and wanted to stop her, a certain impulsive elder Snow Fox had already arrived in front of Lung Ruoxue. However, Lung Ruoxue remained unmoved and calm. The other elders had also turned their gazes to this elder Snow Fox and Lung Ruoxue, ready to watch the show. At this moment, they heard Lung Ruoxue counting softly, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She had just finished counting when a certain Snow Fox elder, who was furiously running towards her, suddenly stood in front of her in a daze. There was even a confused look in his eyes. Seeing this, Xue Ran and Xue Qiao swallowed the words they were about to say to stop him. All the Snow Fox elders present were also dumbfounded. What was going on? The Snow Fox elders were all trembling with fear. Why did the situation in front of them make them feel so uneasy? Every Snow Fox elder's heart was beating wildly, as if there was a little rabbit in it. Immediately, the Snow Foxes heard Lung Ruoxue ask softly, "Why was Snow Shadow hunted by the Snow Fox King back then? Who did the missions?" After hearing such a question, many elders broke out in cold sweat. However, they all endured it and did not dare to show the slightest trace of guilt. But at the same time, the eyes of all the Snow Foxes could not help but turn to a certain unlucky elder, especially the Snow Fox King, whose heart was beating so fast that it almost exceeded the load of its heart. Although the Snow Fox King was sealed in ice and no one could hear what it was saying, it could clearly hear and see everything that was happening outside. Hence, when it heard Lung Ruoxue's question, it panicked and pounded the ice that sealed it with all its might, trying its best to express its dissatisfaction. Unfortunately, at this moment, no one could care about it. Therefore, it was destined to only listen and watch everything silently. After Lung Ruoxue voiced out her question, the big white fox was stunned for a moment, as if it was reminiscing. Then it started to explain. That idiot, Xueying, was hunted down by the king because he was too much of a threat to the king. He was also very insensible, and he actually dared to snatch the king's woman. If the king doesn't kill it, who will he kill? Thanks. When it said this, it gritted its teeth as if it was not the Snow Fox King who had a grudge against Xueying, but it. When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she was very surprised. Why did these words differ from what Xueying had said? Before coming here, Xueying had told her that he had been hunted down by the Snow Fox King, because he had heard the secret of the Snow Fox King, and knew that the Snow Fox King was looking for an opportunity to kill the Great Elder and the other foxes. However, before he could inform the Great Elder and the other foxes, he was hunted down first. But now, everything she heard from this Snow Fox Elder was clearly not quite the same as what she knew. It even seemed to involve emotional issues. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes could not help but turn to Xueying, whose face was pitch black. Following that, she heard Xueying roar, "Fuck! When did I fight with the Snow Fox King for a woman? You better explain yourself clearly." Xueying was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. Don't you know that the king likes Xuemei of the tribe? But the one Xuemei likes is you. However, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're really bold. You clearly know that king likes Xuemei, but you still dare to snatch her from king. If I don't kill you, who else should I kill? The elder continued to speak honestly. In his heart, Shuang deserved to die. The Snow Fox King did not kill him wrongly. You bastard! What does it have to do with me that old thing like Shuemei? I didn't say I liked Shuemei. These words made the Snow Shadow even angrier. It did not expect that its undeserved disaster was actually due to that woman's contribution. However, it believed that that was not the main reason. The main reason was that it had accidentally overheard the Snow Fox King's words. Those were the main culprits behind his pursuit. As for the reason for Shuemei's death, it was probably just a coincidence. You don't like Shuemei, but Shuemei likes you. Therefore, you are the king's enemy. Moreover, you even overheard the king saying that he was going to find an opportunity to attack the Grand Elder and the others. It's even more impossible for the king to let you off. An elder continued to expose. These words caused Shuang to sneer sarcastically. As expected of the Snow Fox King. So domineering. When the Snow Fox tribe's first elder heard this, his face turned ashen with anger. It didn't know that it was part of the reason why Snow Fox King had sent people to kill Snow Shadow. This was too shocking. Moreover, it could not understand why the Snow Fox King would attack it. Was it because it was the people of the two ancestors? However, it had never disrespected the Snow Fox King because of its ancestors' trust. On the contrary, it had always respected the Snow Fox King. Especially in front of its tribesmen, it had given the Snow Fox King enough face. Now that it heard these words, it felt very upset. It seemed that it had been too wishful in the past. It thought that it and the Snow Fox King respected each other for the sake of the race. The Snow Fox King should understand. But now it knew that it was wrong. Some people, no matter how hard it tried to lead them, it was useless because that person was an ungrateful wolf. To an ungrateful wolf, the more you control it, the more it will climb up to your nose. Now the Snow Fox Great Elder deeply understood the meaning of this sentence. He also regretted that he had been too lenient with the Snow Fox King in the past. You said that the king is looking for an opportunity to attack me. Why? Although the Snow Fox Great Elder had already guessed the reason, it still wanted to ask. After confirming it, it would completely give up. You don't even know this? You're really stupid. Isn't it because you're the Great Elder promoted by the ancestor, and you're specifically against the king? If the king doesn't get rid of you, he won't be able to sleep well. A certain elder said as if it was a matter of course. Chapter 2350, Secret 2. I'm specifically against the king? The Great Elder muttered to himself. He really didn't expect this. It had always done its best for the Snow Fox tribe, but in the king's eyes, it was actually going against it. This made its heart instantly turn cold. Lung Ruoxua glanced at First Elder Snow Fox, who had a glass heart. She felt that the matter was already clear, and there was no need to hear it from the same Snow Fox's mouth. Hence, she took the initiative to ask another question. Who were the ones who chased after Shuang back then? There's me, Elder Zhao, Elder Hua and Elder Lai. The four of us. However, the hateful thing is that even with the four of us working together, we still let that cunning little brat escape, causing the king to not dare to make a move on the Great Elder. AI. It's all our fault for not being able to complete the king's mission. After a certain elder consumed the pill that could make humans and beasts speak the truth, he simply told them everything he knew, and even their feelings at that time were completely unconcealed. At this moment, the elder's face was filled with regret. However, the expressions of the other three Snow Fox elders who were called out by it instantly turned ugly. Fuck. Why did this old man confess everything? The three foxes were furious. Their furry faces turned green, purple, and finally black. At this time, the Snow Fox elders who heard this all turned their gazes to them, causing them to be restless. In particular, the cold gazes of the two old ancestors made them even more frightened. However, none of the three foxes dared to show their fear or guilt on their faces. Otherwise, they were afraid that they would die even faster. Nonsense! How could we do such a thing? How could the king order us to do such a thing? One of the foxes retorted loudly. The expression on its face was as if it had been wronged. The Snow Fox King, who was in the ice, nodded its huge head in agreement. However, Lung Ruoxue didn't take the fox's words to heart. She didn't even look at the fox who had spoken. She only continued to ask the honest elder. Besides these, tell me all the other secrets about the Snow Fox King. Yes. The elder who was under the control of the drug nodded. Then he began to talk about the great achievements of the Snow Fox King. The old fox was very honest. It told him everything it knew, including how the Snow Fox King dealt with the disobedient tribesmen, how he secretly ostracized the great elder, and how the 4 Snow Fox elders had helped the Snow Fox King as his confidants and fighters. Every time it said something, Shui Ran's and Shui Qiao's faces darkened. The Snow Fox elders present all had different reactions. Some of the Snow Fox elders were extremely furious, while others appeared to be guilty. As for the 3 elders who had just been called out, their faces were ashen. They did not dare to imagine how they would be able to gain a foothold in the Snow Fox tribe in the future after their secrets were exposed by a certain idiot who had been tricked. It would not be too much to let them die a few thousand times for these things. At the thought of this, the 3 snow foxes turned their gazes at the same time to the Snow Fox King, who was beating the ice block with all its might. They seemed to have lost the upper hand. I wonder if it's still useful for them to defend themselves now? Thanks, the 3 snow foxes' hearts were in turmoil, and their thoughts were in a mess. Their brains were buzzing as if there were thousands of flies in them. Lung Ruoxue did not say anything, and the elders were all enraged. An unlucky elder saw that no one continued to ask questions, and no one retorted him after he revealed a piece of material. He simply thought that he had not said enough and was not good enough. After some consideration, he continued. The king likes beautiful women the most, especially those with good figures, beautiful faces, and snow-white long hair. President Wang told us that we can't find women who are too obedient, or we won't have a sense of accomplishment. That's why it has been chasing after Shuemei, who rejected it. Once, the king even brought us to peek at Shuemei bathing. Zuimai's figure was really good, no wonder the king took a fancy to it. However, that Shuemei was really too ignorant. Did she really think that she was so great just because she was the #1 beauty of the Snow Fox tribe? If it wasn't for the king holding it and liking it, who in the clan would care about it? At this point, a certain unlucky elder suddenly became indignant. Lung Ruoxue's forehead was filled with countless black lines as she listened to all this. She swore that she had never wanted this big fox to say this. However, this Snow Fox King's fox character was really low. He could even do such a thing? She could not understand how a fox with such low fox qualities could become the king of the Snow Fox race. In Lung Ruoxue's eyes, Beastie was innocent, cute, and loyal. But after hearing everything today, it had clearly broken her understanding of it. It turned out that the so-called beast race was similar to the human world. There were fights and schemes. However, compared to humans, no matter how much internal strife the beast race had, when they encountered an external enemy, they would still fight for the safety of their race. Perhaps this was the biggest difference between them and the humans who liked to sweep the snow before their own door. If it was a human, it would be good enough if he didn't drag his opponent down, but would he even help? That was simply a fantasy. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue shot a glance at Elder Snow Fox, who was completely dumbfounded after hearing the big fox's words, as well as Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, who had a mix of green and black on their faces. She chided softly. I didn't ask you to say these things, say something useful. Are these not useful enough? The elder's fluffy face showed a trace of grievance. Then he thought for a moment and asked, the king has also led us to see the female beasts of other races bathing. Will this work? The king also snatched many female beasts from other races, and after he got them, he rewarded them to us. Enough. Don't say any more. The more Shui Ran listened, the gloomier her face became. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and finally roared. Fuck. It really wanted to curse. Shui Ran, who thought that she had a good upbringing, felt the urge to kill the Snow Fox King after hearing this. This was simply the scum of the fox race. Why didn't it realize earlier that the Snow Fox King was so despicable and shameless? If it had known that the Snow Fox King was like this, It and the snow bridge would have rather taken the risk of the snow fox tribe's power being greatly reduced than to leave such a scourge in the world. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. It was useless to think about these things now. However, at this moment, it had also made up its mind. The fox race could not continue like this. The Fox King had to be replaced by a fox. With such a thought in mind, Shui Ran's gaze swept across the faces of the Snow Fox elders. Immediately, the Snow Fox elders who were looked at by her felt as if they were sitting on pins and needles. Seeing this, Shui Ran shook her head, the disappointment on her face deepening. Finally, she fixed her gaze on Shuang. Chapter 2351, Secret 3. This was the little guy. This little fellow's face was filled with righteousness. He would definitely be able to lead the Snow Fox tribe back to its former glory. After making the decision, Shui Mu secretly sent a message to Shui Qiao. The two of them had a simple discussion and decided on this matter in private. Of course, Snow Shadow did not know what the two ancestors were thinking. Otherwise, it might be depressed. This was because it was not interested in the position of Snow Fox King. In fact, it knew that the Mei was not interested in it either. Both of them would rather stay by Lung Ruoxia's side than be a king who would work hard without complaint. However, Shuang knew that regardless of whether Mei was willing to take over the Snow Fox tribe, the Snow Fox tribe would still need a purple-eyed snow fox to hold the fort. This would also increase the morale of the tribe and increase the concentration of the tribe. This was because the purple-eyed snow fox was extremely important to the Snow Fox tribe, or even the entire fox tribe. The purple-eyed snow fox was not only the king of the Snow Fox tribe. At the same time, it was also the king that the entire fox tribe respected and acknowledged. From this, one could see how important the status of the Mei, the only purple-eyed snow fox in the divine realm, was. However, it originally wanted to tell these words to the two ancestors after the matter of the Snow Fox King was resolved. It never thought that the two ancestors would be so anxious that they had already decided to throw the hot potato, the Snow Fox King, to it. Fortunately, it did not know the thoughts of the two old foxes. Otherwise, it would be depressed to death. It was doing its best for the Snow Fox tribe, not for the throne. If it had truly become the king of the Snow Fox race, how could it be as carefree as it was now? Snow Shadow was not stupid. Although the Mei was also worried that she would not be able to follow her master all day after becoming the king of the Snow Fox tribe, Snow Shadow told her with a smirk, "You are a purple-eyed snow fox. You have a superior status among the foxes. No fox would dare to control you. If someone really wanted to interfere with your freedom, you could just quit and leave." According to Shui Ying's thoughts, the Mei was not a native fox of the divine realm. It was indeed a little overboard to place the glory of the Snow Fox tribe, and even the entire fox tribe on her. Shuang did not dare to make such a request. Therefore, when Shuang gave the Mei such an idea, he was absolutely sincere and did not put in any fake news. The intelligent Mei naturally understood what Bai Yingxue meant. That cunning fox clearly wanted her to be a boss who did nothing. Since it was only in name, it would reluctantly accept it. Although the Mei was from the fox race, it did not have much affection for the foxes of the divine realm. Thus, it was actually very unwilling to be the king. However, since its master had asked it to temporarily be the Snow Fox King, it naturally could not refuse. However, ever since it had agreed to become the Snow Fox Queen, whenever it had the chance to see Lung Ruoxia, it would use its resentful beautiful purple eyes to stare at her, causing Lung Ruoxia to feel extremely guilty. She had also treated it much better than before. It knew that its master was compensating it. The Mei was secretly happy for her own thoughts. But did Lung Ruoxia really not know about Mei's little scheme? The answer was no. These beasts of hers had many ways to fight for a pet. It was only natural for the Mei to take this opportunity to ask for a pet. The Mei had always been sensible, and rarely did such a thing. Naturally, Lung Ruoxia would cooperate with all her might. In this way, it could be said that everyone was happy. After a long time, Lung Ruoxia saw that after Shui Ran shouted that sentence, there was no other reaction. A certain elder, who was spurting saliva all over the place, was also petrified. Lung Ruoxue could only smile and say, Senior Shui Yuan, this elder has given us the names of the other 3 elders. Why don't you give them these pills and see what they say? All right. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the furious Shui Ran finally reacted. As for the 3 elders who had also heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they were so angry that they were trembling. Their faces were so pale that they almost fainted. Fuck. This human is too detestable. How could she do this? The 3 elders were filled with grief and indignation. When they saw Shui Ran walking towards them, the 3 big white foxes were so scared that they began to tremble. Could they not eat that thing? Thanks, if they didn't eat the pill, they could still quibble. However, once they ate the pill, they couldn't guarantee what they would say. This fact made them feel fear. Sob. This is too scary. When the other elders saw this scene, they didn't gloat. It wasn't that they didn't want to, but that they didn't dare to. After all, no one could be sure that they wouldn't be the next one after the 3 of them. The 3 unlucky snow fox elders' faces were ashen as Shui Ran approached. The other elders' hearts were in their throats, and they were trying their best to lower their presence. However, at this moment, the snow fox great elder was extremely calm. This was because an elder had just said that Shui Ying was being hunted down by the Snow Fox King, because he had heard that the Snow Fox King was going to attack him. In this way, he could naturally prove his innocence. Therefore, at this moment, it was extremely grateful to the pill that could tell the truth. It was really too heaven-defying. With this thought in mind, the Snow Fox tribe's grand elder's gaze towards Lung Ruoxue became gentler. It did not think that there was any huge conflict between it and Lung Ruoxue. In an instant, its anger towards Lung Ruoxue's intrusion into the Snow Fox tribe was quelled. This was because it already knew that Lung Ruoxue had no intention of attacking the Snow Fox tribe. Everything she had done was for Shui Ying. Furthermore, Shui Ying's accident had happened because of it. Therefore, this matter was somewhat related to it. Beastie also understood that the enemy of an opponent was a friend. In just a few short seconds, the Snow Fox Great Elder had drawn the line between Lung Ruoxue and himself. Naturally, Lung Ruoxue could sense the Great Elder's kindness. After smiling at the Snow Fox, she continued to watch the show. At this moment, Shui Ran walked to the side of the 3 white foxes who were sitting close to each other. She unceremoniously grabbed one of them by the neck, opened its mouth, and threw a black pill in. Then she did the same to the other 2 foxes. The 3 snow foxes did not dare to resist the powerful aura of the snow phoenix. Otherwise, death would be the only thing that awaited them. Moreover, after they were forced to eat the pills, the 3 foxes wanted to put the pills in their mouths. They naively thought that as long as they didn't swallow the pills, they would be fine. However, they didn't expect the pills to melt in their mouths. The 3 of them didn't have time to stop it, and the pills turned into liquid and flowed down their throats into their stomachs. After eating the elixir, although the 3 snow foxes still maintained their clarity, they did not dare to have any thoughts of being lucky. This was because a certain snow fox elder from before had also acted as if nothing had happened at the beginning. However, after a short while, he had completely changed. This fact made the 3 white foxes want to faint, but they were very energetic. They didn't feel sleepy at all, let alone faint. After 10 minutes, Lung Ruoxue asked the same question to the 3 snow fox elders whose eyes were filled with confusion. She even told them not to fight over it and spoke to each of them one by one. When the 3 snow foxes heard this, they obediently began to speak in an orderly manner. What the 3 of them had said was no different from what the elder had said earlier. In fact, they had even revealed more information about the Snow Fox King than the unlucky Snow Fox Elder. Of course, most of the so-called information was gossip about the Snow Fox King. However, among them, an elder had said that the Snow Fox King had ordered them to strictly monitor the situation of the newborn snow foxes in the Snow Fox tribe. If there were any purple-eyed snow foxes, they were to report it immediately. These words had also raised Lung Ruoxue's guard. Of course, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao did not let this piece of information slip by. Lung Ruoxue especially called out the elder who had provided the information and asked, "Elder Lai, right? The Snow Fox King asked you to monitor the little fox cubs. Did you find anything?" As soon as he said this, Shui Ran, Shui Qiao, and the other snow fox elders all turned their attention to Elder Lai. However, at this moment, Elder Lai could not feel the attention and anxiety of the snow foxes. He was only trying his best to recall. 5,000 years ago and 8,000 years ago, the snow fox tribe gave birth to 2 purple-eyed snow foxes. I told the queen about this news. The queen was very excited and immediately went to see the condition of the 2 little snow foxes. However, the 2 little snow foxes only lived for a few days before they died young. The queen was sad for a few days because of this. The moment Elder Lai said that, all the elders' expressions changed drastically. How come I didn't know about this? First Elder quickly asked. The king was afraid that this matter would cause the hearts of the snow fox tribe to waver, so he did not tell anyone about this matter and forbade any clansmen who knew about it to speak of it. The 2 purple-eyed snow foxes died young because their mothers were too weak and were born with inborn deficiencies. This was indeed not a glorious thing for our powerful snow fox tribe. Therefore this matter was kept a secret. Elder Lai said truthfully, but for some reason his voice became softer and softer. The elders who had been kept in the dark were furious. Damn it! The birth of the purple-eyed snow fox was an extremely important matter to the snow fox tribe. How could they deprive the 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes of their right to know just because they had died? Moreover, if the 2 little fellows' bodies were really lacking, they might be able to save them with the help of the elders. However, it had been so long since the incident, and they only found out about it today. This fact made them feel greatly humiliated. However, Lung Ruoxia's thoughts were different from theirs. Chapter 2352. The cause 1. Lung Ruoxia didn't think that there was anything to hide. Who said that it was embarrassing for a beast to lose 2 cubs? This was obviously an excuse the Snow Fox King made for itself. In her opinion, with the Snow Fox King's beast-like character, the death of the 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes might have been its doing. From what she knew, the purple-eyed snow fox was the natural king of the snow fox tribe, and even the entire fox tribe. Based on her understanding of this old fox's character, she did not believe that this old fellow would tolerate the existence of an opponent who threatened his power. During its rule over the snow fox tribe, if a purple-eyed snow fox was born, it would not live for long. This also explained why the 2 purple-eyed snow foxes that were born in the snow fox tribe did not survive. Congenital deficiency? Such words could be used to deceive these fools of the snow fox tribe. As a human, Lung Ruoxia would never believe such nonsense. However, it seemed that the Snow Fox King had instructed Elder Lai to hide this matter. The Snow Fox elders present were probably deeply dissatisfied with this matter. This was especially so for Shui Ran and Xueqiao. After hearing about this matter, their faces clearly turned darker and gloomier. The other Snow Fox elders' expressions did not look any better. However, Lung Ruoxia guessed that the reason they were angry was probably because they had been kept in the dark until now. As for the death of the 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes, they would not be like her and think that it was the Snow Fox King. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful eyes turned to the Snow Fox King, whose heart was beating like thunder, and whose heart was trembling with fear. At this moment, the expression on the Snow Fox King's face was unclear. It was much quieter than before. However, no one knew what it was thinking. At this moment, the furious Snow Fox King could clearly feel the probing gaze on its body. It raised its head and met Lung Ruoxia's eyes. The Snow Fox King was enraged. Damn it. It was all this human woman's doing. It caused it to end up like this. It would not let it off. The Snow Fox King was furious. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws at Lung Ruoxia as a threatening gesture. Seeing that the Snow Fox King seemed to be threatening her, Lung Ruoxia smiled. She then turned to Shui Ran and Xueqiao and said, "Seniors, Elder Lai's words have already made it very clear. For so many years, it's not that the Snow Fox tribe has not given birth to purple-eyed snow foxes, but they have all unfortunately died young. But I think no one has a better right than the Snow Fox King to know how the 2 little foxes died. After all, it was the one who handled the matter back then. What do you think?" Even though Lung Ruoxia's words were considered a question, the doubt in her words was not obvious. When Shui Ran and Xueqiao heard this, the 2 snow-white foxes' brows furrowed together. It was not that the two of them did not understand Lung Ruoxia's intentions. It was just that they had their own concerns. If they fed the Snow Fox King the same pill, the truth that they would find out from the Snow Fox King's mouth would definitely be more shocking than what they would find out from the elders. In that case, their Snow Fox race would lose all face. And no matter how much Shui Ran admired Lung Ruoxia was still an outsider to the Snow Fox tribe. Hence, it really did not wish for this human girl to know too much about the Snow Fox tribe. This was something they were unwilling to do. However, from the looks of it now, Lung Ruoxia did not seem to have any self-awareness and felt that he needed to avoid her. Shui Mu and Shui Qiao, who were afraid of being called killing the donkey after it had served its purpose, were too embarrassed to ask her to leave after Lung Ruoxia had helped them so much. Hence, after Lung Ruoxia's suggestion was made, the two of them remained silent for a long time. However, Lung Ruoxia did not care about that. Thanks, although she did not bring people to the Snow Fox tribe to listen to the 8 secrets of the Snow Fox tribe, she did not think that there was a need for her to avoid it. She also did not think that this trivial matter of the Snow Fox tribe was a big deal. Which family did not have a few rat shits? Furthermore, Lung Ruoxia was afraid that the Snow Fox King would not be dealt with severely. Hence, she could not leave. This was not for herself, but for the charm. After all, she was the one who had agreed to let Mei become the queen of the Snow Fox tribe. She did not want to leave any hidden dangers for Mei. Therefore, she wanted to eliminate the danger of the Snow Fox King before it could sprout, so that it would never be able to make a comeback. Otherwise, if the Snow Fox King were to turn over a new leaf in the future, they would be the ones to suffer. Now that Lung Ruoxia had such a thought, it was impossible for her to avoid it. Furthermore, she did not really appreciate the way Shui Ran and Shui Qiao handled things. They were too soft. Previously, when they had heard the secret from the Snow Fox tribe elder, they had been so angry. However, when they were asked to get serious, the two of them had actually cowered. She was very disappointed with those two. Therefore, she felt that there was no need to seek their opinions on the matter of the Snow Fox tribe. It was better to follow her own wishes. Following that, Lung Ruoxia said with a smile, "Since the two seniors have no objections, I'll make my move." These words caused all the Snow Foxes, including Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, to be stunned. Shui Ran and Shui Qiao's faces were filled with bafflement. They didn't have any opinions? They clearly didn't say anything. The two big foxes were very confused, while the Snow Fox elders were shocked. From what he said, did it mean that something big was going to happen? Then, they watched as Lung Ruoxia stood up from her seat and walked towards the Snow Fox King. With every step that Lung Ruoxia took, all the Snow Fox elders seemed to be deeply affected. Their little hearts were thumping nonstop, and those who were less courageous were sweating profusely from their foreheads. The atmosphere instantly became oppressive. The large hall was so silent that even the sound of a needle dropping to the ground could be clearly heard. When Lung Ruoxia walked to the front of the Snow Fox King, the frozen Snow Fox King could not help but shiver. Although the fear in its eyes was fleeting, Lung Ruoxia still caught it. What are you doing?" The Snow Fox King could not make a sound, but from the shape of its mouth, Lung Ruoxia understood its meaning. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxia smiled. Then, a black pill appeared on her fair fingertips. When the Snow Fox King saw the pill, he had the urge to die. It dared to guarantee that if it really ate that pill and said something it shouldn't have, it would definitely suffer a fate worse than death. The Snow Fox King could no longer hide the fear in its eyes. However, Lung Ruoxia would not be soft-hearted. When the other Snow Fox elders saw this, they were all dumbfounded. Was he planning to feed medicine to the king? Even though the Snow Fox elders knew this, they still could not believe it. This human was really bold. It was the Snow Fox King. It wasn't the elders of the clan. However, she even dared to lay her hands on the Snow Fox King. Was there anything she did not dare to do? As they thought of this, the fear that the Snow Fox elders had towards Lung Ruoxia rose rapidly. More importantly, no Snow Fox dared to stop Lung Ruoxia from completing her actions. Chapter 2353. Cause 2. Little Girl Wait. Suddenly, A voice that was like the sound of nature in the ears of all the Snow Fox elders broke the silence and tension in the room. Immediately, all the Snow Fox elders present heaved a sigh of relief. However, the long fur on their backs had long since been drenched in cold sweat. Senior Shuiyuan, what's wrong? Lung Ruoxua asked innocently. Her beautiful little face was filled with question marks. Well, why don't we have any opinions? Shui Ran asked with an embarrassed expression. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua was speechless as she wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. Wasn't this old fox's reflex arc a little too long? He actually only reacted now. However, Lung Ruoxua was still very patient as she replied. Of course, I want the Snow Fox King to take a truth pill. This truth pill was the name she had just given to the pill. It would probably be of great use in the future, and could be sold for a good price. Lung Ruoxua felt as if she could see money rolling in, and her mood was very good. Truth pill? We didn't ask you to feed it. Shui Ran was shocked. Giving it to an elder and giving it to the Snow Fox King were two completely different concepts. Furthermore, the current Snow Fox King had ruled the Snow Fox tribe for so many years. If any scandals were to be exposed, how could the Snow Fox tribe survive in the divine realm in the future? Hence, Lung Ruoxia's words made Shui Ran feel afraid. The consequences were too severe. Didn't you all agree tacitly? Lung Ruoxia asked, feigning innocence. Silent agreement? We don't have any. We didn't even make a sound. Shui Ran couldn't help but remind her. The innocent fox would never have thought that Lung Ruoxia would play word games with it. Their fox clan had never agreed to this. That's a silent agreement. Lung Ruoxia kindly informed him. Shui Ran was depressed. How could he do this? They clearly didn't say anything, didn't agree to anything. How could this be? That doesn't mean that it's a silent agreement. Shui Ran mumbled in a low voice. If you don't answer properly when other people ask you a question, they will think that you are tacitly agreeing to it. Therefore, you must speak out in time if you have any thoughts. Otherwise, you will mess things up. Lung Ruoxia lectured him with a heavy heart. Let's just consider it a lesson for these foxes today. If it was someone else, they would definitely not be as kind as her. Lung Ruoxia laughed to herself. Then I'll tell you now. Shui Ran said anxiously. Senior Shui Ran, although I like you very much, I can only regretfully tell you that it's too late. Lung Ruoxia spread out her hands, and said without any guilt. Shui Ran was petrified. Lung Ruoxia's words had dealt it a huge blow. You even brought this? Nothing had happened yet, so why was it too late? Thanks, if he didn't stop this girl's actions, it would really be too late, right? Thinking of this, Shui Ran said shamelessly. Little girl, you can't let the Snow Fox King eat that truth-telling pill. Why? Just because it is the Snow Fox King? Lung Ruoxia blinked her eyes. Her clear and beautiful eyes were filled with confusion. Right. Shui Ran nodded affirmatively. Senior Shui Ran, this is not right. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxia's beautiful face revealed a hint of disappointment as she spoke bluntly. What? Shui Ran didn't understand. What was wrong with it? You can't take care of this beast just because it's the Snow Fox King. This would be extremely unfair to the four elders. There's a saying among us humans that goes, if a prince commits a crime, he'll be punished with the common people. Therefore, in my opinion, since these four elders can take the truth pill, why can't the Snow Fox King? It's not like it has one more head than the four elders, so why should it receive special treatment? Lung Ruoxia said indignantly. Ugh. Just because it was the Snow Fox King. As long as it was still the king of snow foxes, it could not be treated the same as ordinary snow foxes. Shui Ran thought to herself. However, she didn't dare to say this out loud. Otherwise, this girl might say that she couldn't tell right from wrong. Shui Ran was very depressed about this. Senior Shui Ran, as an elder or king of a clan, you should set an example. While you demand the clan members to do this and that, you should also be strict with yourself. Only then can you have the power of a role model. Do you know what it means when the upper beam is crooked, the lower beam will be crooked? If the king's style is not right, and the clan members below follow suit, then this clan will be destroyed sooner or later. Lung Ruoxia, who knew what was on Shui Ran's mind, spoke in an extremely reserved manner. After she finished speaking, she did not say anything else. She gave Shui Ran enough time to think. When Shui Ran heard this, she furrowed her brows in deep thought. From a certain point of view, it had to admit that what this little human girl said was very reasonable. However, the dignity of the Snow Fox King. Forget it. Forget it. Just do as that girl says. After thinking for a while and discussing with Snowbridge, the two fox-like elders quickly came to a decision, who asked them to be determined to replace the Snow Fox King. Moreover, the Snow Fox King's management in the Snow Fox tribe was deeply rooted. Therefore, in order to shake the Snow Fox King's position in the Snow Fox tribe, there had to be a reasonable reason. And now it was the best time. After thinking it through, the two white foxes were no longer as against Lung Ruoxia's idea of feeding the Snow Fox King the truth pill. However, deep down they still hoped that Lung Ruoxia and the rest would give them some space to maneuver. After all, the information that the Snow Fox King had revealed would definitely be more serious than the four elders. A scandal. It was definitely a scandal. The two of them were having a headache over what was about to happen. They looked at Lung Ruoxia in anticipation, but Lung Ruoxia ignored their overly obvious gazes, hoping that they would avoid them. Seeing that the two of them no longer opposed her idea, Lung Ruoxia struck while the iron was hot to prevent the two foxes from going back on their word. On her white, jade-like fingertips, a small flame suddenly appeared. The small flame was dark purple in color, and was extremely hot. It caused the elders who were close to Lung Ruoxia to feel as if they were being roasted and sweat all over their bodies. Some of the elders were terrified of the heat of the flame, but they knew that the human's flame was not targeted at them. Therefore, they felt a little relieved despite their fear. Following that, the snow foxes present could only watch as Lung Ruoxia used the small flame that appeared on her fingertip to roast the huge ice block that sealed the Snow Fox King in the hall. Lung Ruoxia seemed to be playing around as she slowly roasted the meat. She wasn't in a hurry at all. However, the elders present were. The Snow Fox King in the ice became even more panicked. For some reason, the Snow Fox King did not want to leave this ice block. At least, its instinct told it that it was safer to be in the ice block than in front of the human woman. Don't let it out. It didn't want to come out and torture this female demon. Chapter 2354. The Cause 3. In that instant, the Snow Fox King looked at Lung Ruoxia in fear, as if he was a man who was about to be raped by a villain. In the eyes of the Snow Fox King, Lung Ruoxia was an evil tyrant who specialized in bullying men from good families. She was also extremely evil. The Snow Fox King was truly afraid. After a long time, Lung Ruoxia's work finally saw some light. The ice on the gigantic Snow Fox King's head had been completely melted by Lung Ruoxia. The Snow Fox King's fluffy head was now in front of Lung Ruoxia. Part of its body was still frozen in ice, unable to move. This was the true meaning of being the meat on the chopping block. At this moment, the Snow Fox King was frightened and stunned. Suddenly, it let out an unusual scream. Ah! Help me! Ah! All the snow foxes were silent and covered their faces in unison. Did it have to be so embarrassing? Was this screeching white fox really the Snow Fox King that they had always respected? It was really too embarrassing, wasn't it? At this moment, all the Snow Fox elders turned their heads at the same time with a tacit understanding. They did not want to look at the embarrassing Snow Fox King. Lung Ruoxia took advantage of the time when the Snow Fox King was screaming and threw the black elixir in her hand into the Snow Fox King's mouth. Along with the saliva, the Snow Fox King could clearly feel a cool liquid sliding down its throat. When it wanted to get the liquid out, it was too late. This knowledge made the Snow Fox King even more frightened and uneasy, and it also made it scream even louder. However, Lung Ruoxia couldn't shut its mouth now. After all, she would have to make it explain to her personally later. AI. Lung Ruoxia looked helplessly and disdainfully at the abnormal Snow Fox King, then turned around and returned to her seat. 10 minutes later, the Snow Fox King finally stopped screaming. Everyone and the Snow Fox elders suddenly felt that their ears were quiet. Snow Fox King, tell us all the great achievements you have done. I won't ask you one by one. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue started to ask. When do you start? Are you sensible? The Snow Fox King blinked and asked. Sure. Lung Ruoxue replied. She had plenty of time anyway. After that, everyone and the Snow Fox elders were all quiet and listened to the Snow Fox King's account of the past. The Snow Fox King was very obedient and started to tell the story from the moment it could understand. However, what made Lung Ruoxue a little depressed was that the Snow Fox King was full of nonsense. However, she really did not expect that from the moment she could remember, the Snow Fox King could already be called a beast, and the fact that it liked to peek at its mother when she was bathing could be traced back to when it was still a minor. It definitely had a long history. When the Snow Fox King finally said that it was an adult, some of the Snow Fox elders could no longer sit still. They were really worried. The Snow Fox King had just reached adulthood, but there were already a lot of gossip that shocked and frightened them. If it continued to talk, they did not know if they could bear the stimulation. However, they could not stop it. The Snow Fox King could not stop itself when it sensed that something was wrong. At this moment, the Snow Fox King spoke whatever it wanted to say, as if it was being controlled by someone. After a long time, Lung Ruoxue was starting to regret it. She really shouldn't have let the Snow Fox King start talking when it was sensible. It was too long, wasn't it? The evil things that the Snow Fox King had done in its long life were beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Moreover, the things that the Snow Fox King had done in the early stages were basically peeking at its mother beast bathing and teasing it. Other than that, it had not done anything earth-shattering. If one were to find a representative event, it would probably be the Snow Fox King peeking at the wife of the Snow Fox Elder bathing. Moreover, the incident was caught by the Snow Fox Great Elder at the time, and he was punished by the Great Elder. However, from then on, the seed of hatred for the Great Elder was planted in the heart of our Snow Fox King. Thanks humph. That damn old man, not only did he beat me up, but he also hypocritically pleaded for me in front of the king, causing me to lose my reputation. I'll hate it for the rest of my life. The Snow Fox King was still brooding over that matter, and said with a face full of hatred. Lung Ruoxue was getting impatient. Is this guy done? It had been talking about this matter for almost half an hour, and it had repeatedly talked about how much it hated the Snow Fox tribe's Grand Elder at that time. All the Snow Fox elders present were dumbfounded. On the other hand, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao's faces darkened. Then everyone and the foxes heard the Snow Fox King say, Humph! Wasn't there a human saying that it was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge 10 years later? In the end, that old thing still died in my hands. When the Snow Fox King said these words, it was inevitable that it would be a little pleased with itself. However, Lung Ruoxue could not help but gasp when she heard this. You can also be considered a gentleman? This guy was clearly a villain, and a despicable villain at that. How did you kill it? Lung Ruoxue interjected. Of course, I attacked it when it wasn't paying attention. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to defeat that old fellow. The Snow Fox King replied. Well, it's not paying attention. You think you can beat it? Lung Ruoxue was very suspicious of the Snow Fox King's words. Ehe. Of course I have a helper. The Snow Fox King said mysteriously. Who's your helper? Lung Ruoxue asked. The helper was lent to me by Lord Wuxia. I don't know his identity. The Snow Fox King said honestly. Rhyme ice. When Lung Ruoxue heard these two words, her beautiful eyes narrowed. Yup. If it wasn't for Lady Rhyme Ice's help, how could I have killed the Great Elder of the Snow Fox and gotten rid of the Snow Fox King? Lord Wuxia is my great benefactor. The Snow Fox King reminisced. The incident at that time definitely had an important meaning in its heart. So much so that it still felt hot blood boiling when it thought about it now. Tell me about this in detail. Lung Ruoxue finally heard something useful and instructed. Back then, Lady Rhyme's love turned into hatred, and she wanted to replace Lord Yu. Therefore, she united with some ambitious clansmen of the Dragon Clan, Phoenix Clan, and White Tiger Clan, and arranged for them to replace the kings of those three clans and take over the three Great Beast clans. As for me, I was chosen by her from the Snow Fox clan. Therefore, Lady Rhyme helped me to get rid of the Snow Fox King, and the Snow Fox Great Elder. I have become the supreme king of the Snow Fox clan. The Snow Fox King explained obediently. The reminiscence on his face deepened. After I inherited the throne of the Snow Fox tribe, those tribesmen who refused to obey me were all killed by me. After that, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, the two old fogies, came out from their closed-door cultivation and wanted to kill me to avenge the Snow Fox King. Fortunately, I acted quickly and killed all those who opposed me. The remaining elders all supported me, causing those two old things to be cautious and not dare to do anything to me. However, they were still hateful. They had never cared much about the affairs of the clan, but they actually began to point fingers at the matters of the clan, making me feel restricted and not dare to act rashly. The hatred on the Snow Fox King's face deepened as he spoke. His eyes were filled with hatred. Since you hate them so much, why didn't you kill them? Lung Ruoxua asked out of curiosity. You think I don't want to kill them? Even in my dreams, I wish they were dead. But I can't kill him. I can't kill him either. At that time, the divine realm was in turmoil, and the Snow Fox clan's vitality was greatly damaged. If these two old things had died, the status of our Snow Fox clan among the beast clans would have plummeted. Thus, I could only tolerate them. I had to show my weakness at every turn, and only then did they finally let down their guard against me. The Snow Fox King said with a wronged expression. You can't kill them, but you can kill their subordinates, right? Lung Ruoxua continued to ask. She understood that as long as this old fox gave her important information, she would have to ask him at any time. Otherwise, this old fox might drag her into something else. Although I really want to get rid of their lackeys, I don't dare to be too obvious. At the moment, the most I can do is to get rid of them. Out of sight, out of mind. Speaking of this, the Snow Fox King was embarrassed. However, Lung Ruoxua felt that it was truly useless. Back then, this fellow had even dared to ally with outsiders to usurp the throne. So why would he be afraid of a few foxes? You've become timid? Lung Ruoxua said with a smile. No. It's just that Lady Rhyme and the White Tiger King don't have time to help me. It's really difficult for me to deal with them on my own. The Snow Fox King said honestly. At least you still have some self-awareness. However, after listening to your words, I have concluded that the reason why you betrayed the Snow Fox King at that time was because you peeked at the wife of the Snow Fox Great Elder bathing. And you were punished by the Great Elder, right? Lung Ruoxua blinked her beautiful eyes and asked indifferently. Not bad. That damn old man caused me to have no place in the clan, and had no choice but to leave my home. How can I not hate him? The Snow Fox King gritted its teeth and said, So you betrayed the Snow Fox tribe. Lung Ruoxua said with a look of understanding. I didn't betray the Snow Fox tribe. I only betrayed the Snow Fox King and the Snow Fox Great Elder, who were wearing the same pants. Don't accuse me wrongly. The Snow Fox King retorted. All right. I've said the wrong thing. Lung Ruoxua smiled and coaxed him. Then she changed the topic and asked, I heard that no purple-eyed snow fox has been born in the Snow Fox tribe for so many years. What's going on? Upon hearing this, all the Snow Fox elders present perked up their ears and listened carefully. After all, compared to the shocking secret from hundreds of thousands of years ago, this was what they were most concerned about. It was also related to the glory of the Snow Fox tribe in the divine realm. This did not mean that they were unconcerned about the past. The main issue was that these elders were too young. Hence, even though they were deeply shocked by the usurping of the throne hundreds of thousands of years ago, it had been a long time since then, and they knew very little about the previous Snow Fox King. Hence, the impact of the usurping of the throne was definitely not as much of a concern to them as Lung Ruoxua's question. Chapter 2355. They all belong to the Fox tribe? 1. Haraha. How could there not be any purple-eyed snow foxes? Only those stupid foxes would believe such words. The Snow Fox King laughed with pride. Upon hearing this, the elders' faces all sank. At this time, if they said that they did not understand the meaning of the Snow Fox King's words, they would definitely be deceiving themselves. However, knowing was one thing, and wanting them to admit it was another. It could not be said that they had an ostrich mentality. However, if the Snow Fox King continued to question them, the impact would be very bad. Therefore, they were a little timid. However, Lung Ruoxue, who wanted to get to the bottom of everything, would not give them the chance to be afraid. Hence, after taking a quick glance at the reaction of the Snow Fox elders, Lung Ruoxue continued to ask, "Where did those little purple-eyed snow foxes go? I've killed them all," the Snow Fox King said honestly. Upon hearing this, other than Lung Ruoxue and the rest, Shui Ran, Shui Qiao and the Snow Fox elders' faces turned black. Shui Ran even had the urge to kill the Snow Fox King. Fuck. The Snow Spanworm wanted to curse. For so many years, it had always felt that there was no purple-eyed snow fox in the Snow Fox tribe. Now, it knew that it was not that there was no purple-eyed snow fox, but that the little purple-eyed snow foxes that were born had all been killed by this crazy guy. How dare it? The purple-eyed snow fox was the natural king of the fox race. Previously, when it heard that 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes had died due to congenital deficiency, it was already in pain. However, at that time, it really did not think that the 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes did not die of illness, but were killed by the current Snow Fox King. In its heart, the Snow Fox King should not have such a big courage. Once this matter was exposed, the Snow Fox King would be blamed by all the Fox tribe. At that time, not only the Snow Fox tribe would not tolerate him, but the entire Fox tribe would probably hunt him down. In that case, the Snow Fox King would have no place in the Fox tribe. But it was wrong. It had underestimated the ambition of the Snow Fox King. In the past, it even dared to collude with outsiders to kill the Snow Fox King. What else did it not dare to do? At this moment, Shui Ran hated herself very much. If it was not for the fact that she and the Snow Bridge had tolerated the existence of this black sheep for the sake of the Snow Fox tribe's stability, the Snow Fox tribe today would not have no purple-eyed snow foxes to hold down the fort. But now it was all too late. All the little purple-eyed snow foxes that were born had died at the hands of the Snow Fox King. The Snow Fox tribe without purple-eyed snow foxes was not considered a truly powerful snow fox tribe. Thinking up to this point, Shui Ran was deeply worried. The Snow Fox King must die. Shui Mu hatefully said to herself. At this moment, it heard Lung Ruoxue's voice. Snow Fox King, let me ask you, how many little purple-eyed snow foxes have you killed in all these years? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. She did not believe that after so many years, the Snow Fox clan had only given birth to 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes. There are 5 of them. The Snow Fox King thought for a while and said, 5. Fuck. 5. He had actually killed 5 purple-eyed snow foxes. All the Snow Fox elders were shocked. They looked at the Snow Fox King with anger in their eyes. As for Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, their faces turned ashen when they heard this. Was this retribution? Because they had indulged this fellow's existence back then. The heavens had punished their Snow Fox tribe by making them no longer have any purple-eyed snow foxes. This had also caused the Snow Fox tribe's strength to be greatly reduced. Shui Ran and Shui Qiao were so hateful. Thanks if they had not tried their best to restrain themselves, the 2 of them would have rushed forward and torn the Snow Fox King into pieces. How did you do it? Suppressing her anger, Shui Mu coldly asked. It's not easy to kill a few little foxes. The birth of a new snow fox in the Snow Fox tribe has long been under my control. Naturally, whoever I let live can live. Will a little cub that I don't want to let live grow big? The Snow Fox King said proudly. These words made Shui Ran so angry that she was about to explode. Damn it. It actually dared to say this? The furious Snow Spanworm had long forgotten that the Snow Fox King had consumed the truth pill. Naturally, it would say whatever it thought. At this moment, there was no such thing as fear in its heart. Why did Elder Lai say that there were only 2 little purple-eyed snow foxes, and that they died due to inborn deficiency? Lung Ruoxue asked again. He doesn't know. Previously, it was not in charge of monitoring the birth of the little snow fox in the tribe. The Snow Fox King explained. I see. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Suddenly, she stood up and said to Shui Ran. Senior Shui Ran, I have no more questions to ask. If you have any, please continue. We won't be participating anymore. Let's go back to our room first. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she gave the evil demon and the rest a look. The group of people stood up and swaggered out of the Snow Fox tribe's main hall. Seeing Lung Ruoxue and the rest leave just like that, Shui Ran was so angry that she almost vomited blood. You bastard! Previously, he wanted them to take the initiative to avoid it, but they did not respond. Now that they knew most of the scandal of the Snow Fox tribe that they should not know, there was no need to avoid it. Instead, they left. It was really too hateful. Shui Ran was very angry, and the consequences would be very serious. However, it naturally could not vent its anger on Lung Ruoxue and the others. The Snow Fox King and the unlucky elders present naturally became its punching bags. After scolding the elders, Shui Ran immediately announced that the Snow Fox King was stripped of its throne, and ordered the 4 elders to be locked up in the Snow Fox tribe's prison to await punishment. After doing all this, Shui Mu and Shui Qiao left the main hall in a huff. Before they left, Shui Ying was also taken away by the 2 white foxes. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the Snow Fox tribe's main hall, they returned to the residence that Shui Ran had arranged for them. The Snow Fox servants in charge of serving them trembled uncontrollably when they saw the return of the demons. Wu, these people gave them a lot of pressure. Don't be afraid. We won't eat you, as long as you're obedient. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes swept across the few snow foxes as she smiled. Yes. Yes. Well, be good. A few snow foxes said obediently with tears in their eyes. Good girl. Lung Ruoxue patted the furry heads of the foxes like she was petting a puppy. She then instructed, "We're going back to our room to rest. Don't disturb us unless it's important." Yes. The few snow foxes responded. Then, they watched as Lung Ruoxue and the rest entered the room. Didn't you want to rest? Why did these people enter the same room? The snow foxes who witnessed this scene were surprised, but they also knew that this was not something they could gossip about. However, they were really curious. However, this might be the answer to their questions forever. The few of them entered the room, and Jiangning sat down on a chair in the living room. Then he looked at Lung Ruoxue with a puzzled expression and asked, Shui, why are we leaving just like this? Aren't you going to participate in the follow-up work to convict the Snow Fox King? Chapter 2356. They all belong to the Fox tribe? Too alright. He had to admit that he hadn't seen enough. That's the matter of the Snow Fox tribe. It has nothing to do with us. Lung Ruoxue sat down as well and smiled. How could it not be related to us? You are the future master of the Snow Fox King. Thus, I feel that the matters of the Snow Fox tribe are naturally our matters as well. Jiangning said matter-of-factly. During the hearing, we were not chased out. Those 2 old foxes, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, have already given us a lot of face. If we continue to sit there and refuse to leave when we are convicted, then we would be too insensible. Furthermore, you have said that I am the future master of the Snow Fox King. They do not know about the existence of Mei, so we cannot make them dislike us. Lung Ruoxue said in an understanding manner. Oh really? But why do I feel that we've already made the fox dislike us? If we really don't want to arouse the hatred of the Snow Fox tribe, I think we should have taken the initiative to leave during the hearing. Jiangning said after some thought. Lung Ruoxue would never admit that she was being a nuisance. After taking a deep breath, she said with a calm face, the hearing was for the good of the Snow Fox tribe. You should know that many of the elders present were the Snow Fox King's men. If we were not there, the 2 soft-hearted old foxes, Shui Mu and Shui Qiao, would not be able to handle them. Do you understand? I understand. After hearing this explanation, Jiangning was speechless. Was this considered a lie? However, he didn't dare to voice out his thoughts in front of Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, that girl would definitely fall out with him. But even if he didn't say it, it didn't mean that others wouldn't say it. Azure stretched out a small white paw and pointed at Jiangning. Girl, this guy said you're lying through your teeth. No. You're mistaken. When Jiangning heard this, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly explained as he looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully with a pitiful expression. His face was filled with a pleading expression. It doesn't matter. I never care about what others say. After Lung Ruoxue heard Song's words, she looked at Jiang Ning with a smile that was not a smile. She was acting very magnanimous. Hearing this, Jiang Ning felt quite uneasy. He felt that this was a sign of a storm. This girl knew that he was pregnant, so how could she let him go so easily? Jiang Ning didn't believe it. Even though he had not spent much time with Lung Ruoxue, he knew that she was a vengeful person. Hence, he could not believe that Lung Ruoxue would not hold it against him. However, the truth was that Lung Ruoxue didn't want to argue with him now. Furthermore, from her perspective, this wasn't a big deal. There were many people who spoke ill of her in her heart. If she was angry with every single one of them, she would have been angered to death. It was a pity that Jiang Ning didn't know what she was thinking. Otherwise, he wouldn't have acted like a bird that was startled by the mere twang of a bow. He wouldn't have even been on tenterhooks for a few days. It was only when he realized that Lung Ruoxue was really not angry that he slowly relaxed. A few days later, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were still living in the Snow Fox tribe. However, these days, whether it was Xue Ran, Xue Qiao, or the elders of the Snow Fox tribe, no one came to disturb them. Even Xueying had been taken away by them. It could be said that since the day the Snow Fox King was interrogated, Xueying had not appeared in front of them. In the living room, Jiang Ning looked at Lung Ruoxue, who was sitting on the chair calmly. He wanted to say something but stopped himself. Is there something? Lung Ruoxue saw that Jiang Ning was hesitating, so she decided to ask him directly. This guy had been staring at her for a while now. If he continued to stare at her, the demon would definitely go berserk. She could clearly feel that the demon was trying his best to suppress his anger. Snow Shadow is lost. Jiang Ning asked. This is the Snow Fox tribe. How could Snow Shadow be lost? Lung Ruoxue held her forehead. Her beautiful face was filled with speechlessness. Could he have been killed? The Snow Fox tribe is not peaceful, Jiang Ning said, pretending to be worried. In reality, he was deliberately trying to find a topic to talk about. In fact, he mainly wanted to ask where Xueying had gone, but he was too embarrassed to ask directly. Are you cursing it? When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why was this fellow so pretentious? Why can't you just say it directly? He just had to beat around the bush like that. She really had to take her hat off to him. No. I'm just worried about it. When Jiang Ning heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he was so scared that he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and quickly replied, You bastard. He was just a little awkward. How could he curse that fox? These words must not be spoken carelessly. Otherwise, if the foxes outside heard of it, he would be in deep trouble. At the thought of this, Jiang Ning looked at Lung Ruoxue with eyes full of resentment. This girl was really too evil. However, on second thought, his words seemed to be a curse. Jiang Ning couldn't help but shiver. Don't worry. It would be fine. The Snow Fox King had been caught. No fox dares to attack it. Lung Ruoxue said confidently. It's been so many days. Why hasn't it shown itself yet? Don't tell me that you don't want us, your comrades who have gone through life and death, anymore after you go home? Jiang Ning said angrily. Are you blaming it for not accompanying us? Sir Jiang Ning, we're not kids anymore. We won't get lost without its company. Furthermore, Xueying has left the Snow Fox tribe for several years. Isn't it normal to visit a friend or a relative? Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. It's normal, but it shouldn't have left us with no news at all, right? Well, be worried. Jiang Ning complained. Lung Ruoxue understood. So the one who hasn't weaned off milk is Jiang Ning. Could it be that they could not give him a sense of security, and it had to be Snow Shadow? How come she didn't know that the relationship between Jiang Ning and Xueying had reached such a close stage? At the same time, Lung Ruoxue's suspicious gaze was constantly sizing up the awkward-looking Jiang Ning. And the Snow Shadow that they were talking about was currently staying in the Snow Fox tribe's forbidden area, guarding outside the room of the Snow Ridge and the Snow Bridge. After a loud sneeze, a puzzled expression appeared on Snow Shadow's face. Was someone talking about him? Oh, it was definitely not Xuer. It was very confident in this. Who could it be? Old ancestor? Or was it someone else? Snow Shadow racked his brain, but couldn't think of anyone who would miss him. At this moment, Shui Ran's voice came from the room, interrupting Shui Ying's thoughts. Shui Ying, come in. Shui Ran said. Yes. Shui Ying responded, then pushed the door open and entered. Over the past few days, the two ancestors had brought it back and left it outside the door. Shui Ying, who knew that the two ancestors were in a bad mood, did not dare to leave even half a step. Its obedient performance also made Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, who were depressed in the room alone, feel deeply gratified. Chapter 2357. They all belong to the Fox tribe? 3. Sit down. Seeing Shui Ying enter, Shui Ran said. Shui Ying sat down obediently, and then waited for the instructions of the two ancestors without moving like a mountain. Snow Shadow, do you have any good suggestions regarding the punishment of the Snow Fox King? Snowbridge asked after letting out a sigh. A country has its laws and a clan has its own rules. What the Snow Fox King has committed is of great importance, and of a bad nature. However, there are still some elders and clansmen in the clan who don't know the truth, so I suggest that we first report this matter to the entire clan, and then hold a meeting of elders to discuss this matter. Snow Shadow said after some thought. In fact, with the testimony of many Snow Fox elders, it was basically impossible for the Snow Fox King to get away with it. However, the Snow Fox King had been running the Snow Fox tribe for many years. It was still difficult to get rid of it completely. Therefore, Shui Ying hoped to use the guidance of public opinion. Only then could the Snow Fox King's crime be truly determined. He did not want that old fellow to live as comfortably as usual after exposing the Snow Fox King's crime. After hearing Shui Ying's words, the Snow Bridge fell silent. In fact, according to the discussion between it and Shui Ran, they hoped that other than the elders who were present that day, no one else in the tribe would know about this. This was because the nature of the things that the Snow Fox King had done was too bad, and it would have a bad impact on the hearts of the tribe, especially the families where a little snow fox had died. If they knew about this, it was still fine to ask for the punishment of the Snow Fox King, but he was afraid that they would make a fuss. At that time, wouldn't this little scandal of the Snow Fox race be known to all in the divine realm? That was not what it wanted. Of course, Shui Ying did not know that although these two ancestors had the intention to punish the Snow Fox King, they also wanted to suppress the matter and not let the situation continue to escalate. However, even if he knew, he would not agree. After all, from Shui Ying's point of view, the current Beast Clan was no longer the Beast Clan of the past, which Beast Clan did not have their own dirty deeds. Therefore, in its eyes, the Snow Fox tribe's killing of each other was really not a big deal. This was because the Dragon, Phoenix, and White Tiger races could not avoid the same thing. With Lung Ruoxua around, the matter between those three races would be exposed sooner or later. In that case, the matter with the Snow Fox race was not a big deal at all. It was a pity that Shui Ran and Shui Qiao were not clear about Shui Ying's thoughts, nor did they understand Lung Ruoxua's motive. Otherwise, those two old foxes would not have been so conflicted over the matter of the Snow Fox King. Of course, the reason why they had been staying in their rooms for the past few days was not entirely because of the Snow Fox King. It was mostly because they were angry with him. If they had been more decisive in their killing, the 5 purple-eyed snow foxes might not have died. It should be known that the Snow Fox clan was the king of the Fox clan. The purple-eyed snow fox was even more so the natural king of foxes. Thus, every purple-eyed snow fox was unique in the divine realm. There would never be a second one. Moreover, only when the previous purple-eyed snow fox died would the next generation of purple-eyed snow fox be born. This had already been a law that had formed in the Snow Fox clan since ancient times. Unfortunately, this law had been disrupted by an extremely daring Snow Fox king. As a result, the Snow Fox clan still did not have a purple-eyed snow fox to this day. In the future, the Snow Fox tribe would not have any more purple-eyed snow foxes. They were not sure. This fact also made the highest-ranking members of the Snow Fox tribe, Shui Ran and Shui Qiao, feel heartache. At this point, Shui Ran suddenly said, Shui Ying, The Snow Fox King's throne has been removed by us. The Snow Fox tribe has no leader now. Hence, after some discussion, Xue Qiao and I have decided that you will be the new Snow Fox King of our Snow Fox tribe. I hope that the Snow Fox tribe can return to its former glory under your leadership. Don't let us down." These words completely stunned Snow Shadow. It was the next Snow Fox King? Oh my God! Could it refuse? It didn't want to take over this hot potato. Furthermore, it had already picked a new king for the Snow Fox tribe. So it was naturally unwilling to become a competitor to the Mei. If Mei knew about this, she might be so happy that she wanted to celebrate. No. He must not let the Mei know what the two old ancestors were thinking. Xueying was shocked, but he quickly declined. "Old ancestor, Xueying is not suitable to be the Snow Fox King." However, as soon as it said this, Xueran interrupted it impatiently. "Who said you're not suitable? I've been observing for a long time, and you're definitely the Snow Fox King." Xueran said with certainty. When Xueying heard this, he revealed a helpless expression. It knew that the old ancestor wanted to grab a strong man, but it really didn't think that it was suitable. In terms of strength, it wasn't even a deity emperor, much less a purple-eyed snow fox. It would be a wonder if those old foxes in the clan would submit to it. "Old ancestor, I'm really not suitable." Xueying sighed softly. Then, he saw Xueran's expression darken, and his heart trembled. He quickly said, "But I know a suitable candidate." "Who is it?" After hearing this, Xueran suppressed her anger and asked. In her heart, she felt that the candidate that Xueying had mentioned was just an excuse for her to reject the position of the Snow Fox King. Therefore, she was very unhappy. "It's a snow fox called Mei," Xueying said in a mysterious manner. "Mei? Who is it from our clan? Have I seen it before?" Seeing Xueying's sincere expression, Xueran asked, keeping her displeasure. "Thanks, Mei is not a snow fox in our tribe, so old ancestor has never seen her before." Xueying said honestly. "Not from our clan? He couldn't have ascended from the lower realm, right?" Xueran asked curiously. It had to be said that it was the truth. "That's right. The Mei is my savior, and is Lung Ruoxia's contracted beastie. Furthermore, it is a purple-eyed snow fox." Snow Shadow finally stopped keeping him in suspense. However, after hearing that the snow fox that Xueying had recommended was already taken, Xueran, who had only heard half of what Xueying had said, immediately said angrily, "How can the king of my race have a human master?" It was one thing to be friendly with humans, but the Snow Fox King could never have a human master. Otherwise, the Snow Fox clan would become the laughingstock of the divine realm. "Wait, what did you say after that?" After roaring, the furious snow spanworm suddenly reacted. It seemed to have heard the words purple-eyed snow fox, but it was not too sure. "The demon is a purple-eyed snow fox," Snow Shadow repeated. In an instant, two white shadows flashed past Snow Shadow's eyes like lightning. By the time Snow Shadow reacted, it was the only one left in the room. It seemed that the purple-eyed snow fox was still the most charming. Xueying smiled helplessly, then stood up and walked outside. The two snow-white giant foxes that were extremely fast immediately rushed to Lung Ruoxia's residence when they heard the news of the purple-eyed snow fox. They did not even bother to knock on the door and immediately broke it down. Bang! The door was shattered into pieces. Lung Ruoxia and the rest who were chatting in the living room looked towards the door in shock. Glancing at the broken door, they saw Xue Yuan and Xue Qiao standing at the entrance with excited expressions. Their eyes were fixed on Lung Ruoxia. Uncle Long and the demon subconsciously stood up and stood in front of Lung Ruoxia, forming a protective stance. However, their actions were ignored by the anxious Xueran and Xue Qiao. They immediately rushed in front of Lung Ruoxia and pushed aside the evildoer and Uncle Long, who were blocking their view. They looked at Lung Ruoxia with extreme excitement and asked, "You have a purple-eyed snow fox?" "Yes." Lung Ruoxia nodded. Then, with a change of mind, she took out the charm from her bracelet and hugged it in her arms. As expected, it was Purple Eye. The moment Xueran and Xue Qiao saw Mei, their eyes glowed with an eerie green light. Mei was so frightened that she immediately hid in Lung Ruoxia's arms. "Little guy, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you," Snowbridge coaxed. At this moment, the expression on his face was like that of a wolf grandmother, and he couldn't help but stretch out his claws to hug the mimic demon. "What are you doing?" the May said with a face full of fear. The expression on its face was like a young fox who had encountered a pervert. However, the fear it showed was not real. It was because this old fox's enthusiasm made it unhappy. "Look at you, you've scared the little guy." When Shui Ran heard this, she glared at the impatient Xue Qiao. Then, she looked at May with a gentle expression and said gently, "Charm. Don't be afraid. We are the ancestors of the snow fox race. We know that there are purple-eyed snow foxes of the snow fox race wandering outside, so we anxiously came to see you. We have no ill intentions. I'm not a fox from your snow fox tribe that has been wandering outside." The May reminded, "Ihi. Who says you're not? As long as it's a fox, it belongs to our fox clan." Shui Yuan quickly said, "They all belong to the fox race?" Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes. This old fox, was he planning to steal her charm? Even though she thought of this in her heart, Lung Ruoxue continued to listen without a change in her expression. When the demon and Uncle Long saw that the two foxes were here for the charm, they looked at each other and sat down. "However, I really do not belong to your divine world's fox race. I ascended together with my master, and I have my own race." At this moment, May sneaked a glance at Lung Ruoxue and stubbornly insisted. Shui Ran had a headache after hearing Mai's words. It seemed that this little fellow was not easy to abduct. What was this good? Even though Shui Ying had told them this news, it was a pity that they were too anxious and did not even listen to Shui Ying's words. They had rushed over to Lung Ruoxue's place and naturally did not know what Lung Ruoxue and the others were planning. Hence, Shui Ran was currently vexed over not being able to kidnap the May. It was a purple-eyed snow fox. This was a purple-eyed snow fox. But he could only see it, not touch it. This fact made Shui Ran and Xue Qiao so frustrated that they were about to hit their heads against the wall. The two big white foxes had already given up on the existence of the purple-eyed snow fox after the blow from a few days ago. However, now an adult purple-eyed snow fox was suddenly placed in front of them. This was like a blessing from the heavens, enough to make them wild with joy. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.